Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Week 2 of the Prototype Series in the Precision Racing League, and where else could we go but the virtual asphalt of Norway? There is Norway. You're going to miss this. As the streets say, take on me, just like one of Norway's finest exports in AHA. My name is Joey Tebben. DJ Clark is back alongside me in the booth. We might have him singing some AHA high notes a little bit later tonight, because we are ready to go racing here at Rudskogen, DJ, the first Prototype GT4 race of the night, the first multi-class race of the night on some tight and twisty sectors that are more familiar to drivers of slightly lower speed cars.
Exactly, Joey. It's absolutely fantastic to be back here, and at a round like this, nonetheless, as you said, this is a tight, twisting, club-style circuit, and to put a multi-class field here, including those LMP3 prototypes, things are going to get very hairy very quickly, and as seems always to be the case here in the LMP3 GT4 Challenge, survival is going to be the key.
And as if things didn't get crazy enough last week at Daytona, Dayton Lowe won at his half-namesake track in LMP3. Justin Ream, one of the most successful, or the most successful GT4 driver in PRL history, returned to win there as well. But things are going to get even more crazy here. And as if that wasn't crazy enough, how about we say crazy 3 more times with this sector of tracks in the middle of the calendar? Bathurst, Sandown, Suzuka, Barber, very different tracks, lots of crazy stuff going on there. Hungaroring, Okayama, and Long Beach to end the season. We started the season in the LMP2 GTP series at Long Beach. That was enough drama. We're gonna have even more in this series. As I mentioned, Dayton Lowe victorious at the first time of asking, his first PRL start last week. Jason Drescher, though, right behind him. Tells you the points difference in the points format in the Precision Racing League. It is not that big of a difference between first and second. Consistency is very much rewarded. Greg Seitz, he might be rewarded with consistency, a longtime driver in the Precision Racing League on the podium last week. Then you go down to Nicholas Salaputis at the end of the top 10. All of these names that you see right here, they're going to be the big names to follow in LMP3 all season long. In the team standings, it's just as close, DJ. There's less teams than drivers, which tells you that there's strength in numbers. You need to have a lot of drivers and a lot of opportunities to pick up points, because there's always the possibility for chaos in this series.
Yeah, there certainly is. And as you said, great to see Greg Seitz back into the series again. He and his team of Rust Racing going to be able to put themselves up on the top of that team's standings by 10 points, which, as you said, is a relatively healthy margin after only one round.
It's GT4 driver standings as well, no surprise whatsoever. Justin Ream at the top of those. Fan favorite Graham Wildman, though, had a great race of his own doing last week. He's second, and he'll be looking for a win this season, just like he did last season. Sean Romig, one of the comeback drivers of last week, he's third after finishing third. And then Carter James, one of the newer faces, and Cade Smith down to the end of the top 5. Ostrich, McLeish, Lowendick, Jennings, and Brett Punkari make up the top 10. No surprise, they were the top 10 finishers from Daytona. Soy Boys Racing, though, that is a different name at the top of the team's championship. Justin Ream, normally a Hydra Race Geodesic driver, he doesn't have any teammates in this series, so it's kind of a power vacuum at the top of the standings. And who else but Soy Boys Racing with not with Graham Wildman, with Andrew Sharp and a few others. They're working to pick up the pieces this season in GT4. But that's enough lollygagging, that's enough dawdling. I know you're all ready to go fast in Norway, but before we can get to that, we have to thank all the people who make all of this possible here on RaceSpotTV, starting with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using the Precision 5 coupon code. This coverage is also brought to you by The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with The Butt Kicker. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And last but certainly not least, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. We both know that you and I both might need that, DJ, but I don't think anybody in the field right now needs that, because qualifying, with only 2 minutes left on the clock, we've seen just about everybody get their laps done. And we'll be setting the grid in a matter of moments here, as there's a few stragglers left trying to find those last couple tenths. Here's Cade Smith coming out of the final corner.
Yeah, Smith trying to work his way through that final corner, and as is the case at many corners on this track here, Joey, it's all about waiting to get on to the loud pedal. Cade going to be able to improve up into 6th place in class, so good for the Mercedes driver. We heard some behind-the-scenes information, though, that Mercedes may not be favored here today.
Crawling through turn 1. I'm not sure if Cade actually has a lap left. You do only get 4 laps in closed qualifying here, but Cade's going to keep going around. Here's one of Cade's fellow Mercedes drivers, Ted Lowendick, spoke to us a little bit before the race started, said exactly what DJ mentioned, that the Mercedes, not really the favored car to have here. The Porsche that Justin Ream is driving, the McLaren that Graham Wildman is driving, they tend to be a little bit more nimble, a little bit lighter, and a little bit easier around the many corners of Rudskogen, but Ted's still holding it out, and we'll see if the banana, miracle flow, melange, spectacular, all sorts of words can describe this car, but we'll see if it's fast in the end of this corner.
Yeah, he's going to have to bring that car around here, as is the case with the majority of the Mercedes. AMG's a little bit known for its understeer. Going to come out of the corner. He's going to cut down to the line, trying to improve on a 125.7. He's going to do just that. That should bump Teddy up, and it looks like he's going to be about 5th in class.
Yep, top 5 start for Ted, about where he was in practice. Here's Greg Doucette coming out of the final corner. It's going to be no improvement for him, as I think he was off pace. He's going to bring it down pit lane. But 3rd as we speak. That's a solid result for the Throttle Thursday driver. And one name we really didn't mention in those dying seconds was the other purple car, the purple LMP3 of Jason Drescher. He put that lap time up so early. He's been sitting there all session. After Dayton Lowe put it on pole last week, Jason Drescher is looking like he's going to start from pole for the first time in the PRL, and it is confirmed as qualifying comes to an end. Jason Drescher, pole number 1, starts alongside the winner from last week, Mr. Dayton Lowe. Greg Doucette, one of his best qualifyings in a long time. He starts 3rd for Throttle Thursday, alongside Vulture Motorsports' Steven Martinez. Vincent LaRue for Tabula Rasa starts alongside Ian Starker on row number 3. Then 7th 7th place. Eric Kulaga starts alongside Nicholas Karangis, two old sparring partners from GT3, now in LMP3 together. And speaking of that, Aero Urexoy, multi-time GT3 champion, starts alongside Joey Morissette. Matt Dinsmore, the third of the Throttle Thursday driver, starts on row number 6 alongside Nicholas Salaputis. But the hits keep on coming because down in unlucky 13th, it's Michael Blaze and Michael Fowler. How about another Michael for the mix as well? Michael Kulaga alongside Josh Kimball. No qualifying lap for poor old Kwok Nin, but I believe he will be making it to the grid, and he'll be starting 17th in LMP3 if he does. In GT4, should it really be a surprise to see Justin Ream on pole for the umpteenth time in GT4? I couldn't even tell you the number, it's been so many, but he's going to start for pole alongside Graham Wildman, Jean-Sebastien Bédard, and Maxime David, two advanced motorsports drivers starting alongside each other on row number 2. Then Ted Lowendick and Cade Smith make a double Mercedes right behind on row number 3. 7th, Aston Martin of Kalen Tobin alongside the Porsche of Adam Ostrich, Carter James, not James Carter, P9 alongside Michael Doyle, and then Sean Romig and John Krauser looking to move forward from the 6th row. Nathan Jennings is the lead Jennings alongside Tim McLeish. Princess Peach Brett Punkari starts alongside the 2nd Jennings, Will Jennings, and then it's Matthew Zerwick and Kenny Gorman rounding out the top 18. But there are so many cars in GT4, they're still coming. Gary Gainesville, David Rothmuller, Robert McGeehan, Niall Drake, the other Gorman, Dan Gorman, and Dustin Staroska down to the end of the top 24. And that is it in GT4. Slightly smaller field than at Daytona last week, DJ, but it's going to be just as intense. You're going to start seeing lap traffic only a few laps into this race with the pace difference between LMP3 and GT4.
Yeah, those GT4 cars are going to come on you very, very quick around here. And I think for these LMP3 drivers, what you really have to do is be patient, Joey. You cannot be too aggressive in the way that you try to attack. You've got to let the race come to you. You know you're going to be coming up against that traffic. You know there's going to be plenty of drivers that you're dealing with. And it might as well just let things come to you rather than trying to force the issue too early.
So I'm going to bring us back to Jason Drescher yet again. He's starting from pole for the first time. Track conditions, very, very nice, actually. It is the springtime in Norway. Probably a little bit colder in the winter, but the suns start to come out. The days start to get a little bit longer. 80-degree track temp, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about a perfect thing for a driver, DJ.
Yeah, it really is. Hot, warm, sticky tires here on a nice, cool track. That is going to be optimum levels for grip for these drivers. And the aerodynamics going to be working absolutely perfectly with that about 49% humidity in the air. That means the air is going to be a little bit thicker. They're going to be able to use a little bit more of those wings.
So who comes out on top here, DJ? You've got a guy who's never started on pole before in Jason Drescher. You've got a guy who's started from pole once and won the race in Dayton Low. And then you've got some more experienced PRL drivers behind in Greg Doucette and Steven Martinez. Who wins, the old heads or the new heads?
I think it's going to be the new heads. I like this storyline that we've got coming on for this year, that it's the young guns starting to make their way up. I think we're going to see a battle between Drescher and Lowe.
I tell you what, actually, it's not going to be the old heads or the new heads that are going to win. It's going to be the talking heads. We're the real winners, DJ.
There we are. There we go. And as they come through the final corner, we're about ready to go racing.
Jason Drescher starts from pole for the first time in his PRL career, but can he hold off the hot new driver in LMP3 Dayton Low? Green flag waiting, and we are racing at Rudskogen. Drescher gets off to an excellent start, stratifies the field 1, 2, 3, 4 in LMP3. He's going to have no trouble into turn 1, but down in GT4, the green flag is out there as well. Graham Wildman and the McLaren to the inside, as there's Calamity, Ian Starker, and many more in LMP3, and the GT4 field is right on the case.
Steve Martinez, Michael Fowler also involved in that incident. They're falling down through the order. As now it looks like here that Bedard trying to be able to get a little bit of a run on Wildman. That's not going to play itself out. And now the speed of that McLaren's going to come back as they work their way down the hill into turn 3.
First lap jitters already hit, and things might get a little bit more spicy. You see some LMP3 traffic. I believe that might be Michael Fowler who got caught up early on. He's caught the GT4s already. He's got to pass them for track position, and he's got to find a place to do it. Through these twisty S's for the first time, Fowler gets immensely frustrated, most likely, but he's going to be waiting for a while as the top 3 in GT4, they have their own fight to fight right now on lap 1.
Well, and remember here that this is not like Formula One. Those blue flags are not mandatory. They are merely advisory here at this point. So he has got to fight his way on through. These cars are not entitled to get out of his way.
Riding on board with Michael Fowler here through the third sector, around the outside of Jean-Sebastien Bédard. He gets through there, thinks better of it, does not peek to the inside of Graham Wildman coming into the final corner. But these are critical moments for Fowler. He's got to get through this traffic as fast as possible. He's going to pull the switchback on Wildman, who bobbles out of the final corner. One more car, Justin Ream, and he'll get by into turn one.
Yeah, he should be able to dive a little bit later on the brakes there into turn one. That's exactly what he's going to do. Also looks like that's Vincent Leroux trying to make his way back up through, so it looks like there is no rest for the wicket at the front of this GT4 field.
Justin Ream a little bit wide there out of the exit of the very, very long turns 1 and 2. You do have to be careful through there. If you go too far over that white line, it is very easy to get a slowdown or an off-track penalty, or an off-track 1X there. But these guys, they might be getting some 4X penalties, DJ, for car contact. Joey Morissette and Steven Martinez, I believe, going at it through the middle sector. And it's full contact sports car racing, as it often is.
Yeah, it certainly is. Oh, we've had an off track a little bit farther back in the field. That's the number 71 machine, your entry there. That's Stark. Whoa, the 13 also having a big off. That's Bedard.
Jean-Sebastien Bédard, he was having one of his best races ever, up in third place, and it's all gone wrong for him. Fallen out of the top 10 now in GT4. Or almost out of the top 10, rather. It might just be out of the top 10 there, as I think that was Kalen Tobin potentially diving it to the inside. But we've got to replay a lap one because we kind of have to. There was so much calamity, so much drama. It happens right there in the pinch point in turn one. Steven Martinez, Vincent Leroux, and welcome about 5 other LMP3 cars to the scene of the crash too.
Yeah, and I've got to say there a pretty hefty mistake there by, I think that was Martinez, not holding the brakes as he came back across the track, caused a little bit more incident. Stewart's more than likely not going to be taking will be taking a dim view of that move.
So we got a little bit of a BMW train here for third and GT4 now. It was a Jean-Sebastien Bédard train. Now it's a Maxime David train. You've got Ted Lowendick right behind, Cade Smith, Carter James, Adam Ostrich, Kalen Tobin, and a few others. They're absolutely getting held up behind this BMW, which is another one of those cars, not really the popular choice. One of the only BMW M4 GT4s in the field, not necessarily known for its nimbleness in tight corners like this, but he can be defensive, he can be wide.
Yeah, he can be very wide, and at a track like Rudskogen, it's quite easy to do that. Just prevent the other drivers from really getting an opportunity. There's really only, I would say, 2 potential overtaking zones on a traditional sense on this circuit. So he's going to be able to keep that Mercedes of Ted Lowendick behind him for a good long time if he runs it right.
It's going to be pretty scary for him, though, because if you look very close at the hood of that Mercedes of Ted Lowendick, there's a very grotesque banana man on there. So I hope Maxime's not looking too hard in his rearview mirrors, because that's a little bit of a race car jump scare. But up in LMP3, Dayton Lowe is run into trouble. He was closely shadowing our race leader, Jason Drescher, but he's got himself into his own little bit of trouble. He's down to third, stuck behind Greg Doucette now.
Yeah, and look at the gap that's developed between Doucette and Drescher here at this point. It's 5 seconds. Oh, as Nicholas Salapudis has a big off farther back in the field. But this gap, that is absolutely mega. Salapudis getting it wrong down into 3 and 4.
Down to the bottom of the hill there, Michael Blaze and Nicholas Carangis side by side as well. They say it's time to go crazy in LMP3. Well, let's go nuts as well. Blaze deeper on the brakes into the hairpin, though. He's going to hold on to the last spot in the top 5. Carangis with a little bit of oversteer. But it's craziness in the middle of the field, and I would be remiss not to mention that Michael Blaze was up multiple spots. He was up double digits from his starting position. I think he still is, but his tires are probably up double digits of degrees as well.
Yeah, they certainly are. The Canadian driver there just kind of making one of the cardinal mistakes that this track asks you to do. He was a little too aggressive with the curbing, popping the car up into the air. And these prototypes, they do not like to have air underneath the car like that. They are designed to suck into the track. And you disrupt that airflow under the car, you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble.
Last week at Daytona, Dayton Lowe led every single lap, qualified on pole, led from there, didn't even lose the lead in the pit stop cycle if I'm not mistaken, but in the first 6 minutes of this race, it's been a very different story. Was behind Jason Drescher early on, and now he is in very, very close company with Greg Doucette. Takes a peek to the inside, up over the top of the hill in turn 8, but it's not going to happen there. He might be hoping that the little bit of GT4 traffic coming up, that is one of the Aston Martins, I believe. Dayton Lowe might be hoping to use him as a pick.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about earlier on in the race. Just patient. Great move there for Doucette. Very assertive, down to the inside, getting out of the way. Dayton Lowe had to run a little bit wider there, coming down the hill into turn 12. And look at what he's doing, clobbering the curbs up to the inside. He is pushing that car as hard as he can.
I believe that was Duncan Soroska who they got by, but Michael Blaze in even bigger trouble. That is his corner of pain there. Turn 12. He had a half spin there 1 lap ago. Was it the same thing this time? Not quite, but still missed the corner.
Yeah, just a little bit of lock up there on, I believe, the right front tire, and that's going to cause it around. We got our first takers coming down into pit lane. Eric Kulaga here. This seems to me to be a little bit early, Joey, but maybe somebody just trying to outthink the strategy.
Man, we've seen many times in the past, people have been able to go very, very long, make their final pit stop very, very late in the race, but with 8 minutes left in the race, if you flip the strategy around, we're 8 minutes into the race right now. Will Eric Kulaga have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race? Well, we can only wait and see. We can see if the off-strategy maneuver works here. Back in GT4, Ted Lowendick has actually lost touch with Maxime David. He's running away in third, and Ted has some very hungry Mercedes behind him. Cade Smith shows his nose into turn 1, but knows that he isn't close enough to get by just yet.
Yeah, he's just going to hold it off here at this point. And now Ted Lowendick has sort of lost that carrot in front of him. He doesn't have the full run that he would like to be able to close down in on David in front of him. And with Cade Smith starting to pressure from behind, he's going to have to be looking in that rearview mirror more than he is the front.
Matt Dinsmore, welcome to the Spin Club in the final corner. Did he get in the tires? I don't see tire tracks going all the way to that tire wall, so I think he may have gotten away with it through turn 14, but what he hasn't gotten away with is not losing any positions. He's down to P10 and may lose just one more, but there's what happened to him. Gets into the back of the McLaren that Robert McGeehan, not Graham Wildman, still confusing liveries there, but that's a pendulum maneuver and doesn't get into the wall, but does lose quite a few spots.
Yeah, it's going to lose a few spots there as a result of that. Everybody just trying to see what they are able to do here at this point. More lap traffic coming up for Doucette. Again, very aggressive down to the inside of the 353 BMW.
My eyes are at the circus right now. You've got the Dazzle camo of Throttle Thursday and Greg Doucette. Yeah, the art car BMW of Niall Drake right there. We are spoiled in terms of liveries this season, and Greg Doucette was spoiled by a very nice lap car. Got through with no trouble whatsoever. He's still feeling the ultimate pressure. There's another lockup there into turn 12. Low peaks a nose to the inside, but yet again, as happens so often at this track, you can get a nose to the inside, you can take a look, but actually making the move and getting by, that's a whole other question.
Yeah, exactly. You have got to try to be able to get yourself into that position, and sometimes it's just a matter of scaring that driver off of the line, and it doesn't look like Doucette. Oh, contact!
Right on cue. It's like Halloween because he just got spooked by Dayton Lowe. Doucette down to third. They had quite a big buffer back to Nicholas Carangis in fourth, so he's not going to lose the podium, but that was pressure, I think, from Dayton Lowe, and I think that was just Greg Doucette looping it around and feeling that pressure.
Yeah, feeling that pressure, having it come back around on him, and that's exactly what I was talking about there, Joey, as we now check in on another battle here. Kimball holding off Urexoy, Fowler, and Blaze all coming in behind.
I do just want to compliment the colors in LMP3, by the way. I mentioned there's some GT4 cars that are painted very, very similar. They make our jobs difficult as commentators, but Josh Kimball, bright fire truck red, Arrow Urexoy, bright yellow, Michael Fowler, black and purple, Michael Blaze, white and purple, but the colors don't matter because Arrow Urexoy got spooked by two of the Gormans in GT4, gives up that spot to Michael Fowler without an ask.
Yeah, he's just going to make that little bit of a mistake there, and that's exactly what he's hoping to be able to do. Once again, exactly what I was talking about.
Oh, but this is dicey stuff there. Oh, and that is contact between Blaze and Urexoy and the Porsche of Gorman all coming together. 3 wide at Rudskogen doesn't work, and Urexoy hits him with a fender bender on the way out.
Oh, and that's going to be a little bit more damage. Remember, these LMP3 cars are a lot more aerodynamically sensitive, so just the littlest little bit of contact could spell disaster for any of these drivers.
This is absolutely terrifying here. You saw Blaze getting out of shape through the final corner there as well. If you're Robert McGeehan in GT4, you're just living your own life right now. You've caused no trouble whatsoever, and there's a hurricane of LMP3 cars around you. But they've solved everything for the moment. They get to calm down and hopefully get some heat back or get some heat out of their tires at this point. Back to Ted Lowendick in that banana car. Still holding tough, hasn't lost anything, hasn't gained anything. You see the LMP3 leader Jason Drescher getting by all this. That means that the first bout of traffic getting by this little pack of GT4, they've survived it without trouble.
Yeah, and so that's a good news for all of these drivers. It is a very hairy moment as they come on through, but let's see what they're able to do here. Oh, car off, going into pit lane there. We've got another taker. It looked like a little bit of damage. That's Carter James coming down into the pits.
Indeed it is. I do wonder if maybe with all the drama and calamity on track, we're starting to see some drivers go off strategy and search for clean air and hope that, you know, all of these incidents start to bite their competitors who decide to stay out. Because Urexoy's in as well, Blaze is in as well, Carter James is in, Michael Doyle is in. Everybody's just looking for clean track, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the key here, because if you're able to get that little bit of clean air, you're going to be able to gain a couple of tenths of a second to be able to move yourself ahead, and that's what you need to be able to do. We check back farther in the LMP2 field here. This battle that is continuing to go on. Kimball leading LaRue and Dinsmore right now as they run.
Remember, Vincent LaRue got into trouble on lap 1, spun all the way to the back of the field, but there is never too little time for a comeback in the LMP3-GT4 Challenge. If you stay out of trouble, if you finish the race, you may just be rewarded with a solid finishing result. LaRue makes it through the Porsche traffic there, but he's in a little bit of a sandwich right now. He's got Kimball ahead, who he's a little bit faster than, but he's also got Matt Dinsmore behind him, who he's a little bit slower than. Dinsmore peeks to the inside with a huge lockup. This is a very uncomfortable position for Vincent LaRue.
Yeah, not exactly great there for LaRue, but now he comes down to the inside. Here we go. Nice little move down the hill.
Good stuff there. Discomfort brings results for LaRue. Goes for the dive because he knew he needed to do it, but he's got some Mercedes GT4 traffic ahead, though. Jennings and a few others blocking the apex through the final corner, as they have the right to do. It's the racing line for GT4 all the same, but Vincent LaRue is wishing this was a plain old LMP3 challenge right now, because he lost a ton of time there behind the Mercedes train.
Yeah, he really did. And now as we see the rest of them trying to work their way back up through the field, oh, caught from behind, and there's going to be a bunch of time lost there for that red LMP3.
Will Jennings in the Milwaukee Mercedes, Josh Kimball in the red LMP3, Gary Gainsel coming up as well in the Mercedes. Josh Kimball says, I'm not waiting up for you, Gary. I'm going to make my own track. I'm going around the outside in the grass.
I mean, sometimes that's just what you've got to be able to do if you want to make this work. Absolutely gutsy stuff there from them, but they've got to do what they've got to do.
The age-old question, can you go side-by-side at Rudskogen? Well, I think we might just be about to see the answer to that in GT4. Jennings almost side-by-side through the S's with Gary Gainsel. Doesn't happen that time, though, but look behind the maroon, the blood-red Mercedes of Sean Romig, a teammate, I believe, of Gary Gainsel's. They're probably communicating with each other right now. How do we get this Will Jennings guy out of the way and move forward as a pair?
Well, this is what Gainsel and Romick can kind of work with each other here. If I'm Gary Gainsel, you maybe be a little bit slower off of the apexes, try to slow him down a little bit, give Romick a chance to be able to get that jump and push his way forward.
And they would normally have a fourth buddy to talk with. It's Ted Lowendick, it's Gainsel, it's Romig, and it's usually Doug Evans. But just as Sean Romig peels off to pit lane, Doug Evans decided he had to peel off to the Buffalo Bills game today. He's doing that instead of this. We'll shame him deservedly next week. But Sean Romig, next driver to go off strategy a little bit and open this very, very wide pit window, probably to get out of traffic.
I'm not going to be the one to shame him. His team won. They're moving on in the playoffs. So there you go.
And I'm sure clearly he had a far warmer night than many of us did.
I don't know. He probably had more fun with the. I saw a lot of snowballs being thrown.
I hope he was one of them. If he wasn't throwing the snowballs, that's a little bit of shame deserved, right. If anything.
Yeah, no, exactly. If you're there and...
But here comes Ted Lowendick to the inside of Maxime David. He's throwing a little bit of his own snowball to the inside of the hairpin, but now the outside does not spell good things for this Mercedes. He's got to let Starker through. He's got to let Martinez through. And one day he might be able to get by Maxime David. It's not coming just yet. He's got to wait again through the final corner.
Yeah, he's got to wait again to try to get this run, but Lowendick has shown his nose, and that is crucial. Also, big news coming in here that our leader in the GT4 field, Justin Ream, comes down into pit lane.
And that's a little bit of a bellwether. If Justin Ream's coming in, that tells you that that's probably the optimal strategy, but he could be in trouble. He might end up in traffic. We'll have to see if he can find a dollop of clean air in the middle of the field, or if he ends up stuck behind somebody. He's still in the box right now. It's likely going to be about an 11-second stop in GT4. He's out now. He should be out in clean air, but Graham Wildman takes over the race lead for just a moment, and the only thing he can hope for right now is that Justin Ream runs into a little bit of trouble. He has been second fastest all day today, which is an accomplishment in and of itself, being second fastest in such a strong field, but he doesn't quite have what it takes to get to Justin Ream today, unless there's a little bit of trouble, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. Justin just seems to be locked into this track, and I've got to say, that can happen here. This is a track that you find that rhythm, you're really going to be able to go.
Bad news for fans of Sean Romig. I believe after his somewhat early pit stop, he's run into a little bit of trouble. He's disconnected from his Discord server. He's not in the iRacing session anymore. I believe the gods of the internet have not gone Sean Romig's way this week. So unlucky for him, but we'll see him back next week to try and fight that back. Does Wildman decide to bring it in this lap? I am not sure yet, but we'll wait and see. Oh, there he is. Sorry for the technical difficulties there. A little bit of trouble on the feed, but we're back in live action, and that's a good thing because it shows us the answer to my question, DJ. Graham Wildman's down pit lane.
Yeah, I think he's got to respond there to what we saw from your leader of Justin Ream. Yes, there's not too much of a direct battle, but they certainly need to be able to try to put their way ahead right now. We're going to check back in on Greg Doucette right now as he tries to close down on Dayton Lowe. Remember that gap was pretty big earlier? Well, it's pretty massive right now. It's 11 seconds up to Dayton. That's how much time he's been able to put down.
It's a little bit of a track day, I think, for Drescher and for Lowe and Doucette right now, because they are so separated. The only cars they really have to play with are the GT4 cars to get by. Unless Greg Doucette does run into a little bit more trouble, unless he makes another mistake or spins again, then he's got Joey Morissette and Nicholas Carangis to play with. I don't think he wants that to happen, though.
No, I don't think he wants that to happen whatsoever. He's trying to keep Morissette and Carangis behind him right now. He's going to be able to move by Graham Wildman here at this point, just trying to get a little bit of a run. There he goes down to the inside. Again, crucial move to be able to do that before diving into turn one. He knows that that's going to slow down Morissette a little bit, and indeed, that's exactly what happened. Is now Carangis sees an opportunity, and he's ready to pounce.
Is the straight going to be long enough to take any sort of peek? It is not down the hill, but Carangis putting the pressure on, letting all of those Throttle Thursday Dazzle camo colors be seen in the rearview mirror of Joey Morissette. Doucette is actually the one to make the mistake out of the corner and through the S's around the outside. Joey Morissette up to P4, gets by Greg Doucette and sends him down to P4. Morissette up on the podium, but Doucette switches it back. The nose isn't there, though, and Morissette's going to hang on at least for a couple more moments, but Doucette's going to switch it back. Every corner it changes. Who's later on the brakes? Doucette's later, but he makes contact with Morissette. Carangis is going to go through. Morissette's going to hang on to the podium, and Doucette goes back to fifth.
And I've got to say there now, it looks like Ian Starker's going to be able to send a move there on Doucette. And indeed, Doucette finds himself dropping down to 6th place. But that just read a little bit to me as seeing red there for Greg Doucette. That move, he had a little bit of the line, but I think he pushed just a couple of feet too far on that braking zone. You saw those front tires lock up. That was a driver that was giving it all he had and just pushed a little bit over that line.
Now it's time to let the battle for third continue. Morissette and Carangis, they're both a little bit spooked, I'm sure, by Greg Doucette, but they've got to continue fighting with themselves. Getting by Kenny Gorman in that Porsche. Carangis similarly behind Morissette that he was in the previous lap, but he's not going to be close enough to go for the move this time, hoping that a little bit more GT4 traffic. This time it's Niall Drake in the BMW who's going to check up Morissette.
All right, there is that checkup, and this is exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the broadcast here, Joey. You get these cars in front of you, and as the trailing car, great move for Carangis, recognizing it down into the inside.
That is a student of multi-class racing right there in Carangis, but Morissette thinks about the Doucette move. Carangis says, "You are not doing that to me," sends it to the inside, gets through Brett Punkari in the hairpin. That was an aggressive move by Carangis to shut that door, but he's seen what happened when you leave the door open into the hairpin.
Yeah, he did not want that attack to come once again, but we have got to once again talk about that move from Nicholas Coran. Just absolutely brilliant heads-up play as we look a little bit farther back down in the field. Ian Starker now trying to make some pressure on Greg Doucette.
And I believe that was Doucette actually getting by Starker, and Starker clips Gorman. I don't think he realized that the Porsche was still alongside out of the final corner, and he finds himself in the wall at the final corner and waiting for quite a few cars to get by before he can find clean track to rejoin. And he's going to tow. He's going to tow. Too many cars coming by. He says, I'm done. I'm coming back to the pits.
Yeah, I think that is his day done, unfortunately. Maybe just a little bit of anger. Josh Kimball and Michael Kulaga now in a little bit of a fight. Kimball down to the inside is going to hold that preferred line. Kulaga's got to wait.
Kulaga looks to the outside. Where is Will Jennings going to be? Well, they're going to catch him on a straight. That's going to make things pretty easy. Kulaga looking, poking a nose to the inside, letting himself be known, but once again, not able to do much more than that. You can show the nose, you can let the driver in front know you're there, but if you can't get by, you're going to have to wait for a little while longer. Graham Wildman, or Robert McGeehan rather, into the S's, is going to check up Kulaga even more. And the waiting game is going to continue as Kimball gets a few precious tenths now over Kulaga.
Yeah, just those few precious tenths, that's just enough to give a little bit of breathing room here at this point. He's going to be able to just relax a little bit, and that is mega huge. We check back in on the battle now for P1 in the GT4 class, but let's remember that this is not actually the lead of this class, as these two up front here in form of Maxime David and Ted Lowendick are yet to come down pit lane.
I'm going to bring up an idea for you here, DJ. I don't know if this is crazy, but Rudskogen, very tight and twisty track, almost street circuit-esque in the fact that there's hairpins, there's 90-degree corners, a lot of low speed. Could anybody potentially be thinking of the strategy we see so often at Long Beach, where you save a little bit of fuel all race long, and you might be able to eliminate the pit stop entirely? I don't know if that's going to be possible here, but some people may be thinking about it. Maxime David's not one of them.
All right, David going to come down into pit lane. Probably a good call here. Try to get off track, off cycle just a little bit more and see if he can maybe find some clean air.
Now, normally we would have an in-race reporter who we could ask. We could ask Ted Lowendick about in-race strategy, but he appears to be muted right now, so we're not going to bother him as he appears to be focusing. Josh Kimball is going to be seeing red right there, stuck behind Kenny Gorman. Here is the new leader in GT4, Ted Lowendick. I think if anybody's going to try and pull an off-strategy move and go to the end on 0 stops, it would be him. But if it's not mathematically possible, Ted's a scientist. I don't think he's going to break the laws of physics.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. He's definitely just going to be trying to run here, but he is going to be in good chance to be able to get his way up into a podium position, something that when we talked to him before the race, he wasn't exactly confident of. But this battle here, as we continue to have battles all over this track, Doyle and Punkari trying to sort themselves out.
Both of these guys have made pit stops already, so this is for position. They're going to get by David Rothmuller, who's just come down pit lane, but once everything cycles out, this should be the battle for some spot at the end of the top 10, which I think will make both of these drivers very happy, especially Brett Punkari, who we know more as an oval driver with all of his experience both in the PRL and in other leagues like the FTF Cup Series. But Brett has taken to road course racing these past couple seasons in GT4 and GT3 as well, and a top 10 would be pretty good for his efforts today, and I'm glad we get to see the camera as well.
Yeah, glad we can. Always love to be able to see that there for him as he works his way through. Always one of my favorite backgrounds to be able to check out. It's really pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's basically a library behind him. I've seen libraries that have smaller DVD and video game collections than that.
Yeah, same here. Certainly a pretty large one, to say the least.
If we ever interview him this season, I think we're going to have to ask him what some of his favorites are back there. We'll have to get his criterion choices. But Kalen Tobin, Nathan Jennings, Adam Ostrich, Jean-Sebastien Bédard, it is a pit lane festival, and that leaves only Ted Lowendick and John Krauser yet to pit. I think that tells us, DJ, that my harebrained hypothesis of a 0 stop, I don't think it's happening in GT4.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think everybody's going to have to come down in here. But, you know, it's one of those things, especially in the LMP3s, you want to try to be able to get as close to the end as possible. The lighter the car is, the faster you're going to go. It's not necessarily as pronounced as it is in some of the other series that we work with, but definitely very, very crucial to run it dry.
As if there weren't enough Porsches in this battle with Doyle and Brett Pancari, how about we add another one for good measure? Adam Ostrich down the hill, gets by Brett Pancari, who lifts off a little bit early, but Ostrich going to be on colder tires, not necessarily from a tire change. The pit stops take too long for drivers to usually change tires in this series, but he was sitting for a couple of seconds, and he is out of the racing rhythm, but it looks like he's going to be okay through the middle sector as he holds off Brett Pancari, and Ted Lowendick from the lead in GT4, he's going to make his pit stop finally.
All right, we're still waiting for a good chunk of the LMP3 field to come on in right now, including your leaders, but this battle keeping us absolutely riveted. Ostrich trying to see if he can be able to find a way by on his fellow Porsche driver, and Brett Pancari just holding in close.
Excitement still going on in LMP3. Joey Morissette has actually lost out to Nicholas Carangis in the last few laps. Carangis now up on the podium. Morissette trying to get his spot back. Very, very aggressive on the throttle, getting through the ladder of the Gormans. That's Dan Gorman, I believe. And Joey Morissette getting a face full of that rear end, all of those aerodynamic bits on the back end of an LMP3 car, all of them feeding dirty air, and unfortunately Joey Morissette not able to cut through that just yet.
Yeah, not able to get through it yet, but Morissette going to try to take a look every way that he can. A little bit squirrely coming off the line there. He's going to have to try to hold it together here if he wants to be able to grab onto this third place.
Got double feed, everybody at home. You got two eyes. Focus one of them on each of the screens on your screen right now. The battle in the middle of the field in GT4, the battle for the podium in LMP3. They're going to be side by side in GT4. Ostrich to the outside almost of his fellow Porsche through the S's. Doesn't get it done. Pancari is looking for a spot by. Nothing's going to change there. Nothing's going to change in LMP3 either. But with only 7 minutes left to go, DJ, if you're going to want to make a move, you're going to have to make it quick. And there are no punches left behind now. Side by side to the hairpin. Ostrich later on the brakes, but he's still got to fight it on exit, and he's going to slide, get back in line.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to make that run, and now they've got a little bit of LMP3 traffic to try to sort themselves out, but Ostrich is going to have the preferred line as they come down through the left-hander, and he's going to have the preferred line again into 13. I think he may have done it. He's got it!
And that's Jason Drescher, overall race leader, trying to figure out where to go. He's got a wall of cars in front of him, but Joey Morissette from 4th in LMP3, he's running into trouble as well at the top of the hill. Remember, he was starting to get frustrated, stuck behind Nicholas Carangis. Was there contact there? Was there just frustration and spinning? We'll have to wait and see. There may be more into turn one as Doyle and Ostrich are still side by side. I think they've been side by side for an entire lap now, DJ, and they're not going to stop.
Yeah, they're not going to stop at all. When you're in this kind of a battle, that's exactly what you want to be doing, is keeping the pressure on Ostrich, trying to be able to hold that outside line. You can make it work as you plunge down the hill into 3. Let's see if he's got it to make it go. He's going to try to get it to play. Maybe he's got a nose ahead, got a little bit more grip off of the line. He's going to hold it on in as now they flick into the left-hander of the S's. He's got it again.
How often do you see a move around the outside in turns 3 and 4? Excellent stuff there. Here's what happened to Joey Morissette. An awkward moment in lap traffic. Tries to go to the outside of the McLaren and loops it around on the brakes.
Yeah, I think a little bit of contact may have been involved there as well, but that looked like it was a blindsided moment there for Morissette, that he just came around the outside, didn't really see the GT4 there, and had to make do with what he had.
And Adam Ostrich, now that he's been unchained, now that he's got by Michael Doyle, he's already almost pulled a second in about half a lap. I don't know what you read in school, DJ, but I think it's a lie. I think ostriches can fly.
I think they can too, and I'm going to go consult my 3rd grade science teacher for that, because Ostrich is moving and shaking.
And we've got the final pit stop now. Jason Drescher, he's going to make his final stop, but with only 5 minutes left in the race, will everybody in LMP3 have to make that final pit stop? I'm going to bring this theory back again. We'll see how long Drescher's stop is. It's looking like it's about 5 seconds, 6 seconds, now up to 6.7 seconds. Is that a level of fuel that can be saved by anybody else? Joey Morissette says absolutely not. I'm coming down pit lane. Greg Doucette says the same. But Dayton Lowe and Nicholas Carangis, and Matt Dinsmore for that matter, they're going to wait one more lap.
Well, I think at this point, Dayton Lowe is not saving any fuel. His last lap out on track was his fastest one that he set thus far at a 1:16.49. So that would indicate to me he's pushing here to come on in early.
It has not been quite as easy of a day for Dayton as Daytona was last week. He's had some more trouble, had a bobble early on, was already second in qualifying behind Jason Drescher. He's going to get by the lap car Michael Fowler here and not get held up any longer. But this may be a return to reality for Dayton. After dominating last week, he's back to having somebody to fight with this week, and he is going to bring it down pit lane. Probably not going to be close enough to take the lead on an overcut here, but he is still in the fight for second, and he is going to have about 2 more laps only once he comes out of the pits.
Yeah, he's not going to have a whole lot of time left to do, and that really does show you the strength of these LMP3 fuel tanks, as Nicholas Carangis also going to come down into pit lane. But as we assume, Drescher with that early stop should take over the lead of this race.
Yeah, as Drescher crosses the line here, it's actually going to be 3 laps to go. Lap times about a minute 17 on average, so 3 more laps to go for Drescher, and you see the gap now. Even with a 1.3 second longer pit stop than Dayton Lowe had, he is still nursing a 9-second lead. These are going to be the best laps of Jason Drescher's life, but he can't get complacent. It is very easy to do that, especially when you're in a position to take your first win in the PRL. You've still got to be 100% on it. You don't want to make a silly mistake and lose that first win.
No, you certainly do not, and these can be the hardest times of a driver's life here at this point, Joey. You have just got to push, 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 but keep it within the limits. It's finding that narrow razor's edge that you have to be on and just keep it going till the end.
And we've got Jason Drescher's camera here yet again. We always love it when drivers provide their feeds for us. Everybody in every PRL series does have the ability to do this. I believe if you go to the RaceSpot Discord, or the PRL Discord for that matter, you can get all information you need to turn your camera on as well, because it's something we love the most. We love to see Brett Pancari's background. We love to see Jason's background. He's got a whole whiteboard back there. I think he may have commandeered a high school classroom. That looks like a very large whiteboard, but I want to see everybody.
Back in the days when I thought I was going to be a writer, I'll tell you what, that whiteboard makes me very, very jealous, because that's how I would outline scripts. But here he goes, coming down through the final corners right now. He's only got 1:46 on the clock. He'll be coming to the white flag this time by.
Brett Pancari coming up, Michael Doyle coming up as well. Some friendly pieces of GT4 traffic. Should be easy. Little bit of patience, little bit of tact, and Jason Drescher is going to be 1 lap away from his first win at the line. His fellow purple car of Doyle in the middle of the road, as he has every right to. Drescher backing off. He's got a little bit of a scare in front of him. Josh Kimball broadside across the curb. Doesn't pull it onto track. Waits for the field to come by to rejoin. Very smart stuff from Josh. But things are going to be scary for Drescher for the entirety of the rest of this race. He's not going to get a calm moment until that checkered flag flies.
Exactly. Every single little blip and bobble on the track is going to be absolutely calamitous here for him. He is going to have to stay on top of his game the entire way through to make sure he is going to be okay, as now he comes out of the final corner. 1 more lap to go for Jason Drescher.
14 corners, and Jason Drescher has his first PRL win. It has been easily the best race night of his career. Qualified on pole, was fastest in practice, and has been consistently fastest in this race. But anything can happen on the final lap. There's a couple miles, there's 2 miles to be exact, to go. And after that, Jason Drescher will be one of the happiest people in the land. We can't forget about that guy right in front of him, Graham Wildman. He's had a good day in second, and only a couple seconds ahead. Heck, Jason might even catch him before the end of the race. I don't think we've said Justin Ream's name once today. He's also led every single lap in GT4, and he's going to come home with his 18th win in the PRL in a couple of moments, assuming nothing goes wrong, as the checkered flag waits for both of our leaders.
Yeah, Justin rather, has just driven a pixel-perfect race here at this point, keeping everything together, doing exactly what he needs to do. Very, very impressive, albeit quiet run for Justin, but this is what we've come to expect out of him.
It's been a quiet run for Jason Drescher too, but after a few seasons in the PRL, he's had podiums, he's had fastest laps, he had a pole today, and now he's gonna add his first win to that tally. Jason Drescher wins at Rudskogen and wins in LMP3. You can see the jubilation coming over his face, a measured reaction so far, but you can bet that whatever he's saying into that microphone, it's going to be some words of celebration soon.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm surprised we didn't get a full-on fist bump there out of him, as that was an absolutely measured drive from him. But now we focus back on our other leader here at this point, Justin Ream, 13th overall, first in that GT4 category, coming down through the motions right now.
Yeah, I think if we ever break out the Race Spot soundboard, I think both you and I, DJ, we're gonna have to record Justin Ream wins in GT4, because we've just said that so many times that we don't have to say it anymore.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Ream, as you said at the beginning of the broadcast, one of the most experienced, veteran, and consistent winning drivers here. Only has one more corner to go, and Ream is going to have himself another victory.
And out of the final corner, this is going to be win number 18 for Justin Ream, and as he crosses the line, Justin Ream ties for 10th all-time in Precision Racing League wins, tied with a couple names you might have heard of in the PRL, James O'Brien, J.R. Smith, and Nick McLaughlin. Welcome to the top 10 at long last, Justin Ream. And I have a feeling this season he's going to be making a charge forward. He's not going to be 10th in wins for long. He's looking at 9th and 8th and maybe even 7th with 8 races to go.
Yeah, he's going to have plenty of time to be able to pad those stats before everything is said and done. Again, a very measured drive from Justin as he burns it down.
There's actually only 7 races to go in the season. These 9-race seasons are screwing me up a little bit, but we'll get used to it over the course of the season, and I think we're going to have to start getting used to saying Jason Drescher at the top of the LMP3 standings, because once you get that first win, that can very easily be the thing that breaks the duck. Drescher wins for the first time over last week's winner, Dayton Lowe. First and second, that's still a pretty solid PRL run for Dayton Lowe so far. Nicholas Karangis finishes on the podium. If I'm not mistaken, that's his first podium in this series. Great result from him. Joey Morissette had a little bit more trouble, still finishes 4th, and Greg Doucette rounds out the top 5 after a solid run with a few mistakes from him as well. Then you've got LaRue, Dinsmore, Eric and Michael Kulaga, and Nicholas Salaputis rounding out the top 10. Salaputis 10th for the second week in a row. Michael Fowler went 1 lap down, and then you start to get into the used car lot of cars that had trouble and heavy damage. Josh Kimball was 3 laps down. Ian Starker had to tow back to the pits. Then you got Steven Martinez, Michael Blaze, and Arrow Urexoy to the end of the finishers. Kwok Nin, unfortunately, never got off the grid himself. And GT4, Justin Ream puts himself, as if he wasn't in the history books already, puts himself in the top 10 in PRL wins, ahead of Graham Wildman, and a very quiet podium, I must say, for Ted Lowendick. The 5th car on track for the majority of the time, somehow ends up on the podium at the end of it all, ahead of Maxime David and Cade Smith. Carter James, Kalen Tobin, Nathan Jennings, Adam Ostrich, and Michael Doyle round out the top 10 in GT4. Lots of drivers 1 lap down, though. Pankari, Gainsel, the other Jennings, Will Jennings, Jean-Sebastian Bédard was 3rd for a little bit early on. Unfortunately, didn't go his way, ends up 15th. Zerwick, Rothmuller, Drake, Kenny Gorman, and Robert McGeehan down to the end of the top 20. And then we start to get into drivers who got into a little bit more trouble. Staroska had trouble early on. Gorman had trouble early on. Sean Romig had some internet issues, and Tim McLeish did bring it to the finish, I believe, but was many, many laps down after early damage. But after all that drama, don't forget there is another race left tonight. But before we get to that, we get to talk to one of the happiest guys in the PRL world, I'm sure, Jason Drescher. For the first time, I get to talk to you as a winner. How does it feel to finally get that win done after so many close calls in this LMP3 series?
Oh, finally. It feels really good, especially on this track, which was difficult to say the least.
So that was something we were looking at coming into this week. It's a very tight and twisty track, usually associated with smaller formulas and touring cars of sorts. How difficult was multi-class traffic around here to navigate?
Oh, it was a nightmare. But basically, it was all patience, just waiting, just knowing that, the people behind will have to do the same thing. And making sure you didn't get any slowdowns was a big key, too. So, and obviously pole, because it's hard to pass on this track.
Is win number 2 coming next week?
Oh, I hope so. I'll be practicing.
Well, for now, Jason, congrats on number 1. Hopefully the first of many, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Jason Drescher breaking the duck, coming home with his first win, but we've got last week's winner as well, coming home second. He probably won't be too unhappy with this. Dayton Lowe is with DJ Clark.
Dayton, a great drive for you here today. Is it safe to assume that with a first place and a second, this is a championship declaration?
Well, this is absolutely. I came into this with the goal of getting the championship, so anything less than that's just not going to be acceptable to me.
Well, all right. That's what we like to hear, that kind of confidence there for you, my friend. But I've got to turn you to tonight. How was it out there? It looked like it was an absolute chaos factory with all of the lap traffic.
Yeah, it was quite wild. At some points, it was really frustrating. You know, this is the same course that the lap record's held by a supercart. So putting LMP3s and GT4s here together is going to be sketchy at best, but it is what it is.
Well, speaking of it is what it is, we head to another track that, well, does what it does next time out in the form of Bathurst. Are we going to see a bounce back for you? Maybe back up at the top step of the podium?
I'm gonna cross my fingers. I'm gonna try my hardest. This is a track. This is the only second time I've ever driven this like Rudskogen ever. So Bathurst, I've driven more than once. So it's gonna be a little better.
All right, my friend. Well, we wish you all the luck in the world when we get there in Dayton. We'll see you next time out down under.
Thank you very much.
Dayton Lowe coming home in second in LMP3, but we made him wait a moment. We're not going to make him wait a moment longer. Justin Ream winning yet again in GT4. That's not a remarkable thing for you. You've got a lot of those wins, but you're now tied in the top 10 in all PRL wins with 18 wins. How does that feel?
It feels pretty good.
Does it feel as good as 9th though and 8th? Are you gunning for more wins to keep moving up that ladder this season?
Oh, I'll just take them if they come, but just trying to have some fun, I guess.
I'm sure you're having a lot of fun. P1 today, P1 at Daytona, and we'll see you at Bathurst next week. See if you can go 3 for 3.
All right, take care, guys.
Justin Ream coming home with yet another win. You know, when you win that many races, I think it might start being a little bit less remarkable when you start winning them. But we've got a guy who the chat finds very remarkable. The biggest fan club in the land, Graham Wildman, gets to talk to DJ.
Well, Graham, Mr. Fan Spectacular here. Another great result for you. Second behind Justin Ream. How was it around this crazy place?
To call it a struggle would be an understatement. I was struggling with my tires. I was struggling with the balance of the car. I was struggling with the traffic. It was a good result for a hard-fought race in the cockpit.
All right, well, we will certainly take that, my friend. And as we look ahead to next week time here around this, we head to Bathurst. Can we see a repeat from you staying up on the podium?
I hope so. The Achilles heel of this car is high-speed corners, and if there's one thing Bathurst has at the top of the mountain, it's high-speed corners. So we're going to see if we can manage our tire temps through there and cross our fingers.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world when we get there, my friend, and we cannot wait to see you all handle the mountain.
Thank you, sir. See you next week.
Graham Wildman, fan favorite, but who else could we end with then? Maybe another fan favorite. Ted Lowendick. We were supposed to have you as our in-race reporter this season, but we have not had a single moment where there hasn't been something absolutely insane happening on track. Are you still breathing, or is your heart still beating, or is this too much for you so far?
My heart's still beating. It's going a little faster than normal. I'm a little sweaty. Yeah, I mean, for you guys, LMP3s coming through the GT4s, it's going to be exciting the whole season.
But how did you finish third? Because you were 5th for the majority of the day, said the Mercedes didn't have the advantage. How'd you take a podium out of all that?
P2 spun at one point, and I passed him. Didn't even have to do anything, so that was great. We'll take the freebies. And then P3 pitted before me, and I think got stuck in traffic. And I passed him in the pit shuffle, and then yeah, it was fun. I was chasing down Graham there at the end, and just needed like 10 more minutes, but it is what it is.
There you go. Couple of happy accidents, couple of passes. I'll see you on Wednesday night, and then I'll see you at Bathurst after that.
Yeah. Bathurst. It's gonna be rough.
That's the reaction I wanted to hear. Ted Lowendick, very excited for Bathurst, I'm sure, DJ, but not quite so excited to have to do triple digits of practice laps to survive.
No, it certainly won't be, and I think certainly for this week, you've got to be, or for next week, you've got to be thinking about surviving once again. I mean, when you're talking about the lower parts of this track, you're going to be just fine, but when we start running up and down the mountain, whoo, doggy, things are going to get crazy.
Same time, same place, RaceSpotTV, and I might just break out my Australian accent, but I can't do that for too long because we've got another race coming up tonight. As if you haven't had enough prototype racing for one night, well, how about we multiply the prototypes by 2? It's the GTP LMP2 Challenge racing at Watkins Glen International. DJ, we started at Long Beach last week. It did Long Beach things understandably. Now we go to one of America's other finest racetracks, directly on the other side of the country, to do some more spaceship racing, as producer Dustin Ollis would call it.
Yeah, we certainly do. It's going to be absolutely fantastic to see here. One of the best circuits on the entire world, in my opinion. Watkins Glen, let's tear it up.
I'm glad you stuttered on that, DJ, because you said the right word at the end of it. It is the best racetrack in the world. That's my hot take. Watkins Glen, it's #1, whole planet.
Yeah, it's one of the best, and it is absolutely fantastic to be able to see him around here running the full boot, high-speed circuit, high-speed every which way you look. It just doesn't get better than the Glen. And look at the other places we're going to. Daytona, all of that, absolutely fantastic. But we got to take a look at these standings.
Exactly. I say it's like you asked an AI to generate a top-level prototype calendar, and it delivered. Daniel Harris, though, I'm sure he's looking forward to every track on Earth because he somehow finds a way to be fast in a prototype around all of them. He finally got yet another win at Long Beach, and unlike the bad start to his season last season, he started it in the best way possible this time. Pat Pelshaw is going to be keeping him company all season, though. His Precision Racing Esports teammate Michael Diaz will as well, and then Chris Walsh and Ryan Skalny, two new names to this series, had very solid days at Long Beach as well. Ovando, Williams, Roy, Borland, and Evans also had solid days at the street circuit. We'll see if it translates for them at Watkins Glen. The team's championship, once again, going to be very interesting this season. Fiercely forward, despite Daniel Harris's win, his teammate Aiden Young scored 0 points last week, so they're all the way down in 8th. Meanwhile, Precision Racing Esports, with their wide range of drivers, they've entered many, many drivers this season. They got a big host of points with Diaz and Pelshaw getting to the top of the sheet. Vice Motorsport had a strong day, SRT had a strong day, and Whataback, both of their teams tied in the top 5, all looking to fight for that team's championship if things continue to go wrong for Fiercely Forward or for Precision Racing Esports. But it's not just GTP in this series, it is double the prototype, double the time, and in LMP2, it's more of the same from last season. Defending champion Jack Hedgecox once again did Jack Hedgecox things and won in LMP2 at Long Beach. He was faster than some GTPs for that matter. Jeremy Carter made a 0-stop work. He could have won the race if not for a little bit of trouble. He'll still hunt for his first win this season. Josh Chinsky 3rd, Daniel Zeggers 4th, Caleb Lehman 5th, and then Wallace, Wood, Maltsev, Goen, and Silver round out the top 10 in the standings. A lot of those names you're going to see much higher up, I think, all season long. Goen Racing Ruby, they didn't have a good day at Long Beach. You saw their head driver was down in 9th in the championship, but they still scored more points than anybody else. It's all about having cars that finish the race, and it's all about scoring every point you can in this team's championship. The top 3 separated by 8 points, single digits. It's going to be crazy in LMP2 all season long, and we're looking forward to it. But we're looking forward to qualifying as well because the green flag has flown on that. Barney the Flagman ready to get Pat Pelshaw going. As the fans watch on in the virtual grandstands, Pelshaw is on the clock.
All right, Pelshaw trying to be able to put some times down here at this point. We're going to see how these shake out a little bit because as opposed to the previous prototype round, this is certainly going to be a little bit of a different running here, Joey, because we've got the multiple makes and models of LMP or of GTPs up at the top.
It looks like it's sped up through the bus stop there, DJ. It never stops being amazing, whether it's an Indy car going through the bus stop, whether it's a prototype going through the bus stop. When you see a downforce car go through there, it looks impossible. It looks inhuman, but somehow they got to do it all race long.
Yeah, it is absolutely remarkable to be able to see, and I just absolutely love seeing it. You cannot get a whole lot better than that.
Because that bus stop was designed, I believe, for NASCAR competition. And when you see a stock car go there, it looks human. It looks kind of awkward. It looks clambery. It feels the same way in the car. But it is just absolutely another level at these high speeds. Pat Pelchat, he is not fazed by it though. He's done it. He's probably done it hundreds of times by now. Through the penultimate corner, totally flat out, little lift into the final corner. Got to make sure to stay out of the safer barrier, and we'll see what this means for Pat Pelchat. He's already P1 in qualifying. Is he going to improve it all on this lap on a 1:27.2? He is not, but he's got pull. He doesn't have to worry about that, and I think he's going to come back to the pits and go for another run.
All right, he's going to give it another shot here at this point. Plenty of time to be able to do it with about half of the time still on the clock. Oh, as Hedgecox comes around right now, and he is only P2. That's a little bit of a surprise.
And he's got a very familiar name to fans of league racing competition on RaceSpotTV. Daniel Zegers is on pole right now of Lionheart and PRL fame for many, many seasons. But Jack Hedgecox still has 5 minutes left to go, still has time to match his pole from last week and the many poles he got last season. We'll see if he can improve on his lap here. Coming down into the boot. It's somewhat controversial, the boot, DJ. Some people say it's better without the boot. Some people say it's better with the boot, like me. Where do you stand?
I love the boot. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The cornering that you're able to get around there, the cambering around those corners in particular, just begs you to draw a little bit more speed in. It's amazing.
I always knew you were cultured here, DJ. I'm glad you can stay. I'm glad I don't have to kick you out now.
All right, good. I'm glad that I can achieve those lofty goals.
I think we're going to be the boot boys from now on.
Let's do it!
For the rest of the season, the boot boys here with you. Still waiting for timing to load up here for you, but we'll update you as fast as we can. And just on cue, how about that? 3:50 left on the clock. We'll get the times in just a moment, but Jack Hedgecox is going to try and produce a faster one of those times. Is he about to put it on pole in LMP2? No, he's not, because that was a warm-up lap, and he's going for a fast one now to see if he can knock Daniel Zegers off pole.
All right, let's see if Hedgecox is able to do it here at this point. He's only got to make up about 0.4 of a second, so it's not all that much for him to do, but let's see what he can do. Hedgecox going to be bringing it on through here at this point. Boris Ovando also about 0.4 off, up in that GTP category.
Daniel Zegers has never been on pole in the Precision Racing League. He does have 2 wins. He's won in the Cup Series on Sundays, and he's also won in open wheel competition in the PRL. Has not won in a prototype yet, though, and has not started on pole in a prototype this season. But down into the boot, Hedgecox looking fast, looking up. That's what the green on the ticker means. He is going faster than his fastest lap time. We can only wait until the line to see if it's faster than Zegers, though. It looks clean. It looks perfectly fine, but the clock is going to tell us everything into one of the trickiest corners. The last 2 corners of the boot here, down the hill into the asphalt runoff area here. You can use a little bit of that, and then the off camber, almost ankle of the boot, I guess we can say. The last corner back onto the traditional layout of Watkins Glen, and Hedgecox is wringing the neck of this Dallara LMP2.
Yeah, he is chucking it around here at this point. Hard line there through turn 9, through 11, now out of the final corner here at this point. Let's see what he's got. Is he going to be able to make up on that time? No, he's not. About 600s off. But if Jack Hedgecox was working at the identical lap time factory, he would be getting a raise there, because a 6, once again, is basically what he did in the previous lap. Nathan Bartley coming out of the final corner, spitting all sorts of smoke out of that car. He is faster, though, up 1/10 on his best. It's not going to promote him any positions, but it is going to get him that little bit closer to Dave Menino. He's going to come back to the pits. He won't have time for another lap. He'll be locked into P5. All right, he'll be locked in at this point. Let's see what Ovando's got to do, as it is Acura City up at the top here of the standings. Remember, this is a massive change to what we saw last season, where it was nothing but Cadillacs up at the top. Ovando, though, trying to push that Precision Racing Acura up, is now he climbs up and over turn 9. Yeah, remember how I said that he was locked into P5? Well, it's now P6, as Aiden Young has put it up into P4. Apologies for the trouble here, but I'll keep you updated on Boris Ovando's lap time as he comes through the final corner. Can Boris beat his teammate out of pole position? Coming to the line, it's looking like a purple lap. Is the time going to look the same? Ovando is going to stay P2. No improvement for Boris. Best he can do is start in the front row with his teammate Pat Pelchat. All right, so that's all he's going to be able to do here at this point. Let's see what everybody else is able to do. Let's see if they are able to get themselves up and over the line here at this point. Chip Michael's going to be the latest to run across with about 37 seconds left to go.
See if Chip has a couple more tenths in the tank. I don't know if this is a lap at speed or if this was just a practice lap, but we're going to get the answer as he crosses the line. Currently P9 is Chip Michaels, and as he crosses the line, it's going to be P5 now. The timing took a moment to update there, but P5 for Chip Michaels. Aiden Young crosses the line. It's going to be P4 for him. A solid qualifying for Aiden, but not quite so solid for his teammate Daniel Harris. Daniel Harris, who started on pole last week, the fastest driver almost always in qualifying in GTP. He's got to start 7th deep in the field, DJ.
Yeah, he's really got to start farther back in the field, and that's going to change things around here at this point. That is not going to be good for him, but let's see if they are able to get anything to go.
Pat Pelshaw will start from pole yet again alongside his teammate Boris Ovando and directly ahead of his teammate Michael Diaz. It's PRE 1-2-3 with Aiden Young right behind them in P4. Dave Menino P5 alongside Nathan Bartley, and then Daniel Harris. Just like last season at Watkins Glen, a bad qualifying means he has to start deep in the field. Hopefully it doesn't end in trouble on lap 1 like it did last season. Bradley Holly, excellent qualifying from him. And Ryan Reeves and JR Williams make it SRT on row number 5. Chris Walsh in one of the few Porsches starts alongside Nathan Ray in yet another Acura. Unlucky 13th went to Will Borland in a very, very colorful Vice Motorsport livery. He starts alongside Ryan O'Connor. Dring, Skalny, Verity, and Evans round out the top 18. Evans hoping to be a little bit closer to his teammate Bradley Holly by race end. Hebert and Palacio, row number 10. Eddie Layton for Hyperion starts alongside Mark Kalin. Then Mark McDonald, the first of the McDonalds, starts alongside Calvin Mayant on row number 12 in GTP. But the hits keep on coming. It is a massive GTP field. Darian Roy starts alongside former Supreme Court Justice William Brennan. The second of the McDonalds, Adam McDonald, starts alongside his teammate Grigor Georgiev. And last but certainly not least, 29th of 29, Nicholas Schwartz will start at the tail end in GTP. Daniel Zeggers, for the first time in the Precision Racing League, will start from pole. He starts alongside defending winner Jack Hedgecox, right ahead of Blake Ziti, who starts alongside Doug Sorrentino in one of his best qualifying runs, if I'm not mistaken. Chip Michaels and Joshua Chinsky make up row number 3. Eugene Maltsev, a solid run in 7th to start alongside Matt Carroll, and then Dakota Tabler and Luke Wallace round out the top 10. Caleb Lehman, lower than he usually is, and then John Leedy makes it all L's on row number 6. Unlucky 13th, Jeremy Carter, 11 spots lower than he was last week. Him and Andrew Wood, 2 drivers who I think are going to move forward at a very high rate of speed, and hopefully it's not a rate of speed ending up in the wall at Fontana like Andrew Wood experienced on Saturday. Michael Belair and Karsten Quint on row 8, Ryan Chandler and Edward Vardanessian on row 9, but the hits keep on coming. There are so many prototypes in this series. Hunter, Hassett, Mon, and Chandler, Falk, and Goen. And I read those so fast that I couldn't even tell you that both Chandlers are back in the field. Nick Silver, he's at the back of the field in 25th. That is so many cars, DJ. That is 54 prototypes at Watkins Glen today. I'm going to lose my voice from just reading the grid. It's absolute chaos.
It is sheer pandemonium here, but thankfully, Joey, we've got a full pace lap to get ourselves up to speed and get ourselves acclimatized as they climb the hill right now. But what's going to be very, very crucial here at this point is going to be the fact that these drivers are really and truly going to have their hands full. Yes, this is going to be a little bit of a closer pace differential than we saw necessarily in the LMP3s and GT4s, but when these GTPs get into the meat of the field, it's going to be crazy.
So as we do have a full pace lap, we do have some time to talk about some stories of the field, and we do have to talk about that one I mentioned on the grid, Daniel Harris, starting from a very similar position than he started last season at Watkins Glen. When he started in that position last season, got a little bit impatient on lap 1, ended up in the back of, I believe, his teammate going down into the heel of the boot, and his race ended on lap 1. How can he do that differently, DJ? How is he going to attack Watkins Glen this season now that he's absolutely a championship contender and likely needs to survive to keep it that way?
Yeah, I mean, he is just going to have to try to be careful around here. Watkins Glen is a circuit that begs you to push the limits. It begs you to go over the line, and you cannot do that, Joey. You have got to keep everything together and refrain from going over the limit here and keep it within the lines.
And we love to talk about the family affairs in the PRL. We had the Gormans in GT4 previously. You've got the Evanses on Wednesday nights. And we've also got the Chandlers back together. Brothers Ryan and Reagan are back together in LMP2. They were separated these past couple seasons. Reagan was racing in the Cup Series. Ryan was racing in this series. But now both Chandlers will meet each other on the same track, TJ. That's good to see.
Oh, it's always good to see there for them. It's always good to see a little bit of, I don't want to say family rivalry, but family fun. Let's go ahead and call it.
I do love a family rivalry. There's nothing I want more than this beautiful story. You know, we're always hyping it up. We're always saying, oh, how nice the two brothers are finding time to spend with each other. No, I want Shakespearean tragedy. I want the brothers to take each other out, and that's going to end the relationship forever.
Well, okay, I don't want to go that far, but, you know, it'll be fun.
There we go. You got the angel and the devil in the booth here. DJ going for the heartwarming stuff. I'm going for the jugular there in the Chandler family. But I am glad to see them both back, and I'm glad to see that we are ready to go racing here in the GTP LMP2 Challenge. Remember, when the GTPs take the green flag, the LMP2s take the green flag as well. So they're going to go likely before the front straight, but the green flag is waiting in the hands of Barney the flagman, and Pat Pelshaw leads us to green. We're racing in the GTP LMP2 Challenge into turn 1. Always a tricky spot. It's a tricky spot in LMP2 as there's a spin before they even get to the front straight. I believe across the line, Blake Ziti makes a track blocker for a few drivers in the final corner.
Yeah, and that is going to be absolutely calamitous. I'm not sure if that's a matter of somebody spinning the tires there or exactly what it was. Another looks like GTP farther back in the field. That's going to be Darian Roy having troubles down through the 90.
They were almost 3 wide through the bus stop in GTP. Everybody managed to sort things out. Aiden Young down to P5. Daniel Harris still in P7. But that was frenetic going through the bus stop. Mark Kalin in trouble in the bus stop, though. He's missing the front end. He's missing the rear end. They're side by side for the lead in LMP2. Off the road go both Zeggers and Hedgecocks. And around the outside, Joshua Chinsky takes the lead in GTP.
Joshua Chinsky saying
LMP2 rather.
Very much. We all knew what you meant there, Joey. Is now look at this, a nice little diamond coming down into the laces of the boot.
It was so crazy, I'm mixing up my sports cars. There's even more trouble on the exit of the toe of the boot. There's a nose just holding its spot on the track. I don't know who that came from, but Will Borland may be missing a front end of his car there. LMP2 coming through. Looks like they all managed to avoid that. Things are stratified out up front in GTP, but that was absolute craziness everywhere else, DJ.
Absolute insanity going on back through the rest of it. Up in GTP, Pelshot leads Diaz, leads Ovando. Though Diaz making that run as we look back in the LMP2 field. Drivers getting a little bit hairy coming out of turn 9.
3 wide into the penultimate corner. That is not something you see often, and that's why it was only 2 wide by the time they got there. But wow, side by side through the bus stop for the lead, and LMP2 ends in trouble. We've already got a pitter at the back. Somebody may be running into a penalty after Ziti's spin on lap 1. But you look at the bottom of the field, the amount of drivers who have already towed back to pit lane. I think Chandler, Hunter, Mon, Reeves, Borland, Dring, Roy, and Ziti, not even 1 corner into the race, and they're already out.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what can happen here. That's exactly what I was talking about, the dangerousness of Watkins Glen, that it just begs you to try to take these corners a little bit too fast and a little bit too aggressive, and that's exactly what can happen when it does.
Nathan Bartley on the attack now on Aiden Young. He's had a solid start, up 1 spot from where he began this race. Young a little bit of a lockup, and there is a missing front clip there. I don't know if that was real or if that was just a visual glitch. I think Pat Pelshaw is okay, but yeah, Aiden Young holding off Nathan Bartley still, but feeling the pressure early on.
Yeah, feeling the pressure early on here from these drivers from behind. Remember, these GTPs punch a bigger hole through the air, which means they're going to have more effect of the draft coming up this high-speed section down through the 90 and up through the S's, and that means things are going to get a little hairier coming into the bus stop.
Pat Pelshaw has probably had the quietest lap 1 of anybody because all of the trouble has been behind him, and now he has a teammate in Michael Diaz behind him. He has a teammate in Boris Ovando behind him. The Precision Racing Esports drivers hopefully communicating with each other right now in some sort of communication channel. they're probably just working out their strategy and making sure they can hold on to this 1-2-3 for 41 more minutes.
Yeah, and that is once again where you're going to have those teammates. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier in the GT4 battle that we saw in the previous round, but now that's going to come into play a little bit more here with some of these drivers. Let's see how they handle. Looks like we've got a battle farther back down in the GTP field. That got a little bit hairy. That was Luke Wallace and Zegers coming down into the inner loop.
And Zegers getting very, very aggressive. Remember, he started from pole, but got interlocked with Jack Hedgecox through the bus stop and is now down to P4, so he is lower than he really should be based on speed. But you've got to make the pass. You don't want to run into trouble again. He doesn't want to make Luke Wallace do what Hedgecox did through the grass. And he's going to be looking for other opportunities out of the toe of the boot. Wallace very wide, clips the grass, but Zegers got wide as well, and Bradley Holly broadside across the track coming out of the boot after his best qualifying ever in GTP. It's ended in tears, and he's got to drive backwards to find the pits.
Well, and that can happen there, and I've got a sneaking suspicion if we take a look at the replay here from Bradley Holly, we're going to see a little bit over-eagerness coming up and onto that turn 9 section. That is an area of the track that always wants to catch you off guard, and I think it caught Bradley off hard.
Yep, here it is into the Armco. Oof, and I think that may have been a clip by somebody in GTP. Couldn't quite see who that was, but finally there's clean track for Bradley Holly. He's finally going to be able to back it up and loop it around. But I think he should just drive it backwards to the pits at this point. He's waited a little bit too long there. Wallace and Zegers are back at it. Zegers is going to be in the draft. You know he loves to get aggressive in the butt stop. Is he going to be close enough to go for the move this time?
All right, let's see if he's going to be able to pull himself out here to be able to get this to go. Going to poke his nose to the inside, shutting the door is Wallace.
Yeah, wasn't quite alongside. I think he's got enough fear in his eyes from lap 1 that Zegers isn't quite as interested in going side by side. He's going to peek to the outside, into the heel of the boot, going to switch it back to the inside as Wallace opens the door, and there is Daniel Zegers through in the toe of the boot. Up to 3rd for now. If Wallace doesn't send it back, Zegers hangs on, and now he looks forward to Jack Hedgecox for 3rd.
Yeah, he's going to look ahead here at this point, but that's going to be about 2 seconds up the road. Now, we know Zegers has got the speed to be able to close it on in, and thankfully for him, that is going to be Hedgecox locked in a battle with Joshua Chinsky, so that could slow him down a little bit. He just needs to try to move his way ahead. Oh, Mark McDonald looks like he's had a problem. He's in pit lane.
Welcome to the club, Mark. It has not been an easy day to be a GTP car, and Mark McDonald is going to join them. We've got a replay of that epic moment in the bus stop on lap 1 for the lead in LMP2. Zegers and Hedgecox side by side for P1. Hedgecox clips the curb, and that could have ended so much worse, DJ.
I am very, very surprised that Hedgecox did not get fully sideways. That's a full testament to him and his ability to hold on to the car, because if he had gone slipping and sliding there at that point, that would have been a 3, 4, 5 car disaster.
But you know what makes Daniel Zegers very happy right now? Hedgecox is still getting held up behind Chinsky. He's still going to be fighting with Chinsky, and as they two fight, they may just bring Zegers into it as well. But in the back of LMP2, things are just as crazy. The 9-1, or the 55 rather, versus the 25. They're going to be side by side through the bus stop. How about Deja Vu? Not quite, as the 55 of Andrew Wood loops it around on the exit. He was given, or not Andrew Wood, rather the 55 of Karsten Quint loops it around after clipping the curb. The bus stop bites another one.
It does indeed, and that's a matter there of being too aggressive coming over the curbing there at that point. You saw that LMP2 kind of rocket up into the air and slam back down onto the surface and just not really ever get itself settled. That's exactly what happens there when you're too aggressive with it.
I cannot imagine he's going to be the last driver to do that. I mentioned in qualifying how fast it looks when you see prototypes going through there. It's also at a knife's edge, though, so if there's one little mistake, if there's one bobble, it is so difficult to save, being off camber, basically, hopping over the curb. But here's what happened to Chris Walsh just a couple of moments ago to the inside of Ryan Skalny. But what happened to Chris through the bus stop? There it is.
It's the same thing there, Joey. Just got a little bit offline, got a little bit over-eager there, and paid the price for clipping those curbs too much.
Oh. How about even more trouble? The bus stop bites again. Stephen Verity this time, but Nicholas Schwartz actually gets to come up first in the carousel of entertainment because the bus stop bit him on the exit, though. That's not Schwartz, rather. That is Verity. That was Schwartz that came on the scene. McDonald gets around the outside safely, but the bus stop bites another.
It does indeed, and I've got a sneaking suspicion we're going to be saying that quite a few times here tonight. These drivers, especially a little bit lower down in the field, they're trying to be a little overeager. They're trying to put what they can to get up and over that mark. Is here we watch on board. Oof, nowhere to go.
That's a horror movie, DJ.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that is absolutely worst case scenario, most terrifying thing you can imagine.
And welcome to the club, Grigor Georgiev as well. That is a heavy impact, and that is a very, very damaged Porsche GTP. He's going to drag it back to the pits after getting into the wall in the heel of the boot there. Nathan Bartley still getting aggressive, still trying to find a way past Aiden Young, but he has just been stuck behind all day long, and Aiden Young is trying to look for a way to get through Boris Ovando and break up the PRE triumvirate at the head of the field. Neither of those things have worked out so far. It has been a train for third.
Yeah, it's been an absolute train here, and I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen Ovando stretch away a little bit more. I would have thought for sure that he could have gotten a good run to find himself into position, but clearly just a little bit back here at this point, not having the outright speed that I would have expected Boris to have at this point in the running.
I just hope Boris's internet is okay. You know, it's a time when we've had some internet issues all across the country with the bad weather, but first and foremost, Grigor Georgiev. That doesn't look like a mistake. That looks like a little bit of trouble with his brakes, I think. He just could not get that car stopped.
No, just could not get that car stopped here at this point, and that's going to be what can happen. Again, it's not just the cornering that can get you out around here. Sometimes you're not on the brakes for so long, it can really throw you off.
And as I was saying about Boris's internet, he has been disconnected from multiple races in the Precision Racing League because his internet said, "You know what, Boris? We're not going to let you send your data to iRacing servers anymore, or however that works." And it has disconnected him. But I hope he's okay today. I hope he's hooked up to the Ethernet cable at least, because I want to see him fighting for this podium all race long. Look at Nathan Bartley as we ride on board. High commitment through the bus stop. He's excellent through there, but Young and Ovando are just as excellent. That's the high level of competition in this GTP series. Bartley peeks to the inside, but no nose is going to open just yet.
No, and Aiden Young there tried to take a little bit of a look on Ovando, and now you see, I like what Bartley's doing here, just trying to deliberately get into the rear view mirrors of Aiden Young. He knows there's a battle coming as Young tries to get the better run there out of the toe. He's going to try to get the run down into the heel, but I don't think he's going to have it here at this point. Three wide almost.
That was the fan out of the day there. They weren't actually three wide at any point, but they were on three different parts of the track, everybody getting the same idea, and as a result, everything kind of evened out there. Young not late enough on the brakes to get by Ovando. Bartley not late enough on the brakes to get by Young. And now we wait again for it to happen again.
Yeah, and they're not really going to be able to get that play here coming down into 10 and into the final corner. That's not going to play itself out. Let's see what they are able to do here at this point as Aiden Young, he's got to time this run right here, Joey. But a lot of times getting the run out of the 90, it's like running on an oval. You've got to get the timing perfect.
That was very wide, though, through turn one for Ovando. You've got to start thinking about off-tracks when you do that, because in the Precision Racing League, you only get 13 incident points before you're first forced to serve a drive-through penalty. You only get 17 before you're totally disqualified. So if you're getting those 1Xs for off-tracks, you've got to be very, very careful, because they add up very, very quickly, and you don't want to get yourself a penalty only 10 minutes into the race.
No, you certainly do not want to do that here at this point. Let's see, though, is Aiden Young starting to close down a little bit more. Not going to be able to get the run into the toe, but again, we saw him have a good run into the heel. Let's see if he can do it 2 times in a row.
The Aiden Young slippery switchback special is not going to deliver today. He's going to have to wait a couple more moments. Once again, he's going to let Ovando know that he still exists. He's going to make him see all yellow in his rear view mirror. And he's going to have to wait until they exit the boot. Ovando a little bit wider of an entry, as I believe that was Doug Sorrentino in LMP2 who they're getting by. He's back out on track after getting some damage repaired. And that might be the only bit of LMP2 traffic that these GTP drivers deal with, DJ. The lap time separation is only about 6 or so seconds. I'm no mathematician, but I don't know if there's enough laps for that to matter more than maybe once or twice or 0 times with the pit stop.
Well, you know me and math, Joey.
Oh, Daniel Harris went absolutely miles off the road there, DJ. He almost ended up in the lake.
Yeah, he certainly did, and that's the margins that these drivers are pushing at here at this point. Harris has got to be careful. That could end up very, very rough. If you get too squirrely off there, there's a lot of gravel. There's a lot of marbles that get kicked up on that side of the track, and it can end very poorly.
Young's closer than he's been. He is closer than he's been by a matter of about a 1/10. Looks to the outside into the heel of the boot, but by doing that, he opens the door for Nathan Bartley to take a look. It is almost like an oval here. It is a multi-groove racetrack in the boot at Watkins Glen. Unfortunately, none of the boots are working for Aiden Young. He slips it out of the toe, and he is not going to be able to get by. And it's not been a good couple of moments for Fiercely Forward, because as Aiden Young bobbles and stays in line, Daniel Harris's big excursion in turn 1 has ended with him towing back to pit lane. I think he hit the wall.
Yeah, I think he did too. He is towed back into the pits here at this point. We take a look at a replay here. So Fondo just completely skipping the. Oh, that's got to be some kind of hardware failure.
Yeah, I believe that's Daniel Harris. I was slightly confused because he was in a Porsche there, unless my eyes deceive me. But I think that answers our question. What happened to him in turn 1? He must have had some sort of issue that showed its ugly head again in the bus stop.
Yeah, and that reads to me a little bit like a hardware failure there, just something not working, maybe a VR disconnect when he couldn't see, but let's watch this, because here comes Bartley on the attack on Aiden Young.
Bartley in the blue, Young in the yellow, alliteration of names and colors, and there may be some colors blending in the bus stop. Not quite. Bartley's got to let go yet again and slot back in line. Wasn't quite far enough alongside, wasn't quite fast enough in a straight line. And everybody, I think, in this 3-car pack is getting frustrated even more because they can see right behind him who's coming to join. Dave Menino wants to make it a 4-car fight.
Wants to make it a 4-car fight. He very well may be able to do just that if he can just close in a little bit more. It's not that difficult to try to get in at this point, but let's see what he is able to do. If these guys continue to fight like this, this is going to be a golden opportunity for Dave Menino.
I did get a little bit scared there for Boris. We saw one of his textbook blinks. That's just one of the unfortunate things about virtual racing compared to real racing. You do have to work with the technology. You do have to hope that you don't end up with a random failure like you might in a race car. And Boris on the virtual realm right now, still with us on track, but it is getting dicey there. Dave Menino getting dicey with the final corner. I believe bounced off the wall very lightly. I don't think he'll have any damage from it, but he's using this track for every bit of real estate it has.
Yeah, he is pushing everything that he can here at this point. He knows what's at stake to be able to close down on this battle with Bartley, Young, and Ovando, and I think he knows if he gets up into this battle, if he is able to get up and get himself closer into this draft, he is going to be right in the midst of it.
There was big smoke there coming through the bus stop. Did not see who caused that, but I think they got out of the way. Yep, there it was. That was one of the Porsche GTPs, I believe. May have been Darian Roy getting into some big trouble, but luckily being able to stay out of the way. We'll take a look at that when we come to it, but we can't look away just now because there is lap traffic coming up to this 3-car battle. There's an Acura of Mark Kalin, which has heavy damage, and there's an LMP2 at similar speed. Things are starting to get dicey now for Ovando.
Getting very dicey indeed as he tries to piece his way through some of those slower LMP2s. Now here they come down to the inside. Whoa!
Got even dicier behind for Young and Bartley's through. He was able to get to the inside of Young. He is totally clear. And now what can Bartley do on his teammate Boris Ovando? They're representing 2 different Precision Racing esports teams. Ovando for the main team, Bartley for the black team. But he's going to be on the attack here. Mark Kalin, very courteous, pulls over to let all of these guys by. How can Bartley do into the bus stop? Can he get the exit out of turn 1 he needs? And will he be able to knock his teammate off the podium? But as I say that, Joshua Chinsky from the lead in LMP2 has crashed. We'll take a look at that when we can. Don't know where that happened, but he was in control of this race. And now the pole sitter, Daniel Zegers, is back in the lead in LMP2.
Everything coming to blows here at this point in the race. Absolutely remarkable to see, Joey. My goodness, this is what happened to Chinsky. Let's watch as he comes down and hits the bus stop again.
But that was one of the piston pushers GTPs in front of him. Was that a little bit of target fixation potentially for Joshua Chinsky as he saw the GTP in front taking too much speed? Did he take too much speed and hit a similar angle as well?
I wonder if he did. I mean, that's something that can certainly happen on a circuit such as this. We focus back in on that battle up in front of the GTP field with Bartley now trying to put the moves on Ovando. And here is my question with this, Joey, is what's the level of team orders that we're going to see? What I'm seeing right now is there are none. With the way he's pushing, Ovando taking a very wide line. That's not going to be an off track. One of the eccentricities sort of here of this Watkins Glen circuit.
Yeah, that was Stephen Hassett who they just got through there in LMP2, and no harm, no foul there. Here's a replay of Chinsky. That's Adam McDonald right ahead who spins in GTP. Chinsky spins behind him. Daniel Zegger's very lucky to avoid, but it's pit stop time in GTP. Pat Pelshaw, Michael Diaz from 1 and 2. Nathan Bartley from P4 as well.
All right, everybody coming on in here at this point. P1, LMP2, we've got a battle here between Zegers and Hedgecox.
As if we didn't have enough of a battle between these two on lap 1, let's do it again in the middle of the race. Zegers back where he qualified, Hedgecox back where he qualified, and it's going to be two titans doing battle for the rest of this race as by virtue of Zegers passing Wallace and by virtue of Chinsky making a mistake, you've got the two fastest drivers, now the fastest in the race as well.
Yeah, and so they're going to be up in front here at this point and pushing ahead. And the good news for them is Luke Wallace is about 3.6 seconds behind them. So they've got all the time in the world to be able to let this play out.
Daniel Zegers is a very experienced driver in sim racing. Jack Hedgecox very experienced as well. These are two drivers that have probably clocked hundreds or thousands of laps at Watkins Glen, hundreds of laps in this LMP2. These are the most comfortable drivers in this car, so shouldn't really be a surprise to see them rising up to the front no matter where they go.
Yeah, certainly shouldn't be. This is the battle for your former leaders between Pelshot and Diaz. And as I take a look at these right now, this is really close down here a little bit. This is under 0.4 of a second. And it's a little bit surprising considering Diaz actually had a 0.6 of a second longer pit stop than Pelshot.
And these guys were not this close on track before that pit stop, so you mentioned team orders between Ovando and Bartley maybe coming into consideration. Do they talk about team orders between Pelshot and Diaz when they're battling for the race lead? They've got more pressing things to worry about, though, because right up ahead, Adam McDonald is right up ahead. It was actually Grigor Georgiev who crashed in the bus stop earlier. Correcting myself there, McDonald is still alive and well on track. And he's going to have some GTPs coming up to lap him soon, and some LMP2s in front he's going to have to get by himself.
Yeah, and this is where that traffic's going to come into play, and how it comes to play will be huge, as it does look like there that he's going to dive down into pit lane. That's going to free them up ever so slightly, but they're still going to have to deal with that number 124 of Jeremy Carter up in front of them.
Will Ovando will Pelshot rather be able to use him as a little bit of a pick? He is not. He's going to get through into the S's. I think Diaz is as well going to be forced a little bit wide. Still going to be in the draft of his teammate, though. I don't know if he'll be close enough to go for a move into the bus stop as he steals some draft off of the LMP2 traffic, but he is still within touching distance. You still see it as about 4 or 5 of a second. Diaz bobbles through the bus stop, though, and loses even more.
Yeah, he's going to lose a little bit more time there. That's going to lose him, it looks like, about 0.5 of a second. So he is now on the back foot. He's going to have to try this all over again. And he's got to be careful. If you start doing that too often, you're going to run on tilt, and you're just going to continue to make more and more mistakes.
Side by side into turn 1, GTP and LMP2. This is going to end up being the battle for somewhat deeper in the field in LMP2, but it's the battle for P1 in GTP because Ovando and Young have found each other yet again. Dave Menino still within draft range as well. This is the battle for likely 3rd place on track, but it's for the lead right now, and you're going to see it fought just as hard as it would be if it was for the overall lead.
Yeah, I mean, most certainly these drivers are not going to want to give up any sort of position. And rest assured, they've also got to know that the battle there is still out on the circuit with Nathan Bartley, who continues to circulate around, having made his pit stop early. Where is he going to come out in relation to all of this? 2 more drivers coming down into pit lane, though, from GTP. That's Ryan Skolny and Zach Hebert.
Fastest lap for Nathan Bartley. Look at that, Ovando and Young and Menino. If they're looking at their data, they're seeing that Bartley is making excellent time. Do they want to come in now and cover him off so they're not losing even more? Are they thinking strategy right now? Are they thinking extending the fuel tanks as much as possible? It's lots of things that that all three of these drivers need to be thinking about immediately as pit entry comes up.
All right, let's see if anybody decides to pull off down into pit lane here. We're just over the halfway point of the race. Nobody coming on in. Excuse me, Dave Menino will be.
Dave says, I am going to cover you off. Nathan Bartley, J.R. Williams, Menino's teammate, follows him in as well. This is going to be a real test here. Where these two blend with Bartley, I think will tell us where Ovando and Young will blend with Bartley. Back in LMP2, this battle deep in the field is continuing on. Andrew Wood, Nick Silver, almost some trouble with some GTP traffic there.
Yeah, trying to get out of the way, trying to be nice about that, but clearly having a bit of a miscommunication. Now Silver trying to hold off an attack here from Wood as they come down the hill into the heel of the boot. 64 of Andrew Wood, just not quite close enough to get that move done.
And it's still good to see Andrew Wood in this series. We've seen him we've seen him for so long in IndyCar, and we finally saw him back on Saturday night with the return of the RaceSpot US 500 for the final time. But you'll start seeing Andrew Wood a lot more often on RaceSpotTV because IndyCar's back, DJ. It may not be GTP LMP2 racing, but I think we're all excited about that as well.
Oh, we're very excited about that. Welcome back home to IndyCar. A lot of these drivers, including Andrew Wood, as you said, having experience there in IndyCar Foundation, and you can really learn a lot from those IndyCars and transfer them over here to the GTPs.
So are we going to make a two-car effort at the iRacing Indy 500 this year, DJ?
Well, if I'll be around when they run it, I certainly will. We certainly can.
Race leaders are in, or race leader singular rather, as Ovando is in, but Young does not follow him in. Young elects to go one lap longer around, and now we wait for the Ovando blend. Look a couple, or at least a little while behind, because Aiden Young is ahead, and Pat Pelshaw and Nathan Bartley and Michael Diaz are behind, waiting to see how short their teammates' pit stop is going to be, and if they're still going to have a PRE 1-2-3 at the end of this pit cycle.
Well, let's see if they are indeed able to do just that. Pelshaw going to be coming on by right now. Let's see what he is able to do as they are going to come on by. That's Ovando holding on closely, or excuse me, that's Diaz holding on closely. Ovando ready to come out of pit lane right now. He's off the jacks. He is out and on his way. Ovando's out of this.
Yeah, he is not going to be in the fight for the win. He's not even going to be in the fight for third because with a similarly lengthed pit stop to anybody else, it was about 23 seconds, just like Pelshaw, just like Diaz, but Nathan Bartley has absolutely blown by Ovando with his undercut strategy. Bartley is likely going to be in third overall, pending where Aiden Young ends up.
Yeah, brilliant strategy there from Nathan Bartley. I think he recognized the fact that there certainly was an opportunity to get into open air, was an opportunity to get himself into a position where he was able to take full advantage of that open air, and he jumped on it with both feet.
And I have to give Nathan Bartley a lot of credit. He was the fastest driver in practice. He didn't quite match that with qualifying pace, didn't have a great session, but he is showing race pace like nobody else right now. I honestly don't think we can count him out for the win. If he's able to catch Diaz and Pelshaw, maybe gets a little bit lucky in traffic, you never know what could happen. But the leaders in GTP are in once again. Young is in, Ray is in, leader in or second place in LMP2. Jack Hedgecox was in as well. You're starting to run out of time on these fuel tanks. Everybody is going to have to make their pit stop soon.
Yeah, everybody's going to have to come in here sooner rather than later at this point. A little bit of smoke, it looks like, kicked up there coming through the toe of the boot. Not sure what that was as they work their way now down. We focus in on this battle as they work their way back in. This is the battle for ninth between Menino and Williams.
And this is another teammate battle. It's easy to differentiate the two teammates because they were very nice to us. White is Menino, black is Williams. But here's the blend. Look at Young coming in. Daniel Harris, his teammate on the outside. He's laps down. But Young is going to be able to stay ahead of Dave Menino, ahead of J.R. Williams. Is he going to be able to stay ahead long enough to get into the bus stop? Yes, he is. Young hangs on to P7. Behind Ovando, though, critically. And that's going to be the Porsche spinning almost and falling to the back of this train.
Yeah,
that's Nathan Ray, rather, not Daniel Harris. Daniel Harris is long gone.
Yeah, Harris is absolutely long gone at this point. The battle now for 6th in GTP between Ovando, Young, Menino, and Williams. This is going to be very, very close. We're going to have to see how they're going to sort themselves out. Is there, you see, a little bit of a move trying to get around that LMP2 traffic?
Yeah, there is one buffer for Ovando. He is lucky, and he gets to breathe for just a moment. Jeff Evans is going to finally bring it in GTP. That seems to be the strategy that Jeff loves to do. He loves to go 1 lap longer than anybody else, get a lap led, get his name mentioned on RaceSpot, and then finally come into the pits and finish about 10th or 12th. That's the Jeff Evans strategy right there, and that was very, very dicey stuff through the bus stop once again, with former Supreme Court Justice William Brennan almost getting taken to the bench. I don't know enough about law to finish that pun.
I don't know,
getting taken off the docket. Getting struck down?
Yeah, they're getting struck down. That's the best one. I think that's the one.
I got there eventually.
Yeah, it just takes some time. No worries at all.
You know,
but
what I've learned, DJ, is when you just say enough words constantly, eventually you land on the correct ones. But you got to say a lot of them to do that.
Well, you can't say that too loudly. You're going to let all the secrets of commentary out.
Exactly. But we're educators of the best of times. We're teaching the next generation this way. Here's Pat Pelshaw now back in the lead of GTP as the pit stop cycle has cycled entirely out. He's going to hope to extend that lead over Michael Diaz. Daniel Zegers is in, leader in LMP2. Where is he going to blend with Jack Hedgecox? Michaels is in as well. Lehman is in as well. The fuel tanks have run out on the Dallara LMP2s. And remember how close Zegers and Hedgecox were before that pit stop? You're going to start to see that blend be very close here in a matter of moments.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. It's going to be a very, very tight blend here at this point. Zegers out and on his way, only stationary for 16.8 seconds as Hedgecox is working his way around the circuit right now. Where is he going to end up? That is going to be the big question. He's coming out of the final corner right now.
Oh, he got a little bit balked behind Nathan Bartley there. That's one of those awkward moments where the LMP2 is a little bit faster than the GTP in one specific corner, and that might be the thing that easily gives Daniel Zegers this race lead. Jack Hedgecox 4 seconds in arrears. That is a dominant lead for Daniel Zegers.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to come down here just a little bit because Hedgecox will be fully up to chat as he climbs the hill here, and Zegers will have to work his way up to speed. But nevertheless, that is a nearly impossible mark to break here, I think, for Jack Hedgecox.
Things have closed up in GTP, though. I said Pat Pelshaw might be running away. He'd pulled a second a couple of moments ago, but now it's down to half a second again. I think the number 75, the LMP2 car of Ryan Chandler, may have held up Pelshaw a little bit, but that's exactly what Diaz needed. The gap's only half a second now. That is within draft range. Diaz might not be out of this again.
May not be down to that, like you said, under 0.5 of a second. This could be a little bit close here as they come. Diaz is just going to have to put together everything in these dueling Acuras as they come up and over the hill. Little bit of overcorrection there, a little bit of correction coming up and over turn 9. Let's see what he's able to do.
Michael Diaz has to do some work to catch that top 10 in the PRL all-time stats as well. I mentioned that Justin Ream made the top 10 with 18 wins. Diaz currently sits on 16 wins right now, so 2 more for him, and he could also be an all-time consideration. He's won in basically every type of racing there is in the PRL. He's won in open wheel, he's won in prototypes, he's won in GT3, he's won in GT4. He came close to winning in the Grand National Series, never got that done. But Michael Diaz is simply a guy who drives cars fast, and I don't think we've seen his last win. Maybe it'll come today. Daniel Zegers, or not Daniel Zegers, rather, his teammate Andrew Wood, once again side by side with Nick Silver. These guys can't stay off of each other.
No, they can, but that's a very dicey position to go side by side through. Wood going to try to hold it out there coming down through turn 10. Looks like that's not going to work, but Silver a little bit off put as a result of that. Let's see if he's able to get a better run. No, Wood's losing time to him.
Into turn 1, not going to be close enough into the 90s. Andrew Wood, he's going to have to hope for the draft down this long back straight. The S's make up the straight, I think, because it is full throttle all the way from turn 1 to the bus stop. It's a curvy straight in places, but you are getting the effect of the draft for all of it.
Yeah, you're getting a massive effect of the draft there at that point. Let's see what they are able to do. He's not going to be able to get the run there coming down to the inner loop. He's just going to have to keep pressing here, I think.
Something's happened to Dave Menino, apparently. He was very close with J.R. Williams, and he's run into trouble, falling down about 3 seconds. We will get on the case when we have that. Here it is coming out of the toe of the boot. That's a half spin, but that is an excellent save from Dave Menino.
Excellent build there for him. Excellent save for Menino. Very lucky he was able to hold on to that. You know, I've got to say here, I'm really impressed with a lot of these drivers catching loose cars here today. We've seen a lot of cars get very, very squirrely and not a lot of incidents as a result of those snaps of oversteer. It's really been the bus stop where we've seen those issues.
I mentioned this last season, but I don't know how we lived without top-level prototypes in the PRL, DJ. It's been so great to have these back. It's been so action-packed for every single race, both last season and this season. I don't know what we did without them. It's been so good.
Nor have I. This has really and truly been the highlights of my digital week, coming in and week out. I love seeing this action, and I love seeing these prototypes out on track. And credit to iRacing for bringing us all 4 of the GTP models in together. We just got to see a little Italian manufacturer come in potentially.
Maybe a little bit of homologation potentially in LMDH that may or may not happen there. But I'm also proud of the drivers in this series. This is the biggest field that I've seen in the PRL in many, many seasons. 54 drivers took the green, albeit in 2 categories, split up, but still, those are massive grids, and they'll keep being massive all season long. But the toe of the boot has not been good for SRT esports drivers, and J.R. Williams was the next one. It wasn't a half spin out of the exit there. That was too much speed on entry.
Yeah, just too much speed on entry, and that threw him out a little bit, and that is exactly what happened to him there at that point. Let's take a look here, though, as we continue to watch J.R. Williams now trying to hold off Dave Menino, recovering from that incident. Menino still keeping some good pressure from behind. Ooh, another good battle back down to the LMP2s.
Sorrentino and Michaels, this is the battle for the podium in LMP2. Michaels going to get the full effect of the draft here. He's about 4/10 back, though. Not sure if that's going to be close enough to come into the bus stop. A big conversation point in this series is always the open setups. It is not a fixed setup series, so you might have a little bit slipperier of a car. You might be better on the straights than another driver, but you're going to pay for it in the corners. And that is the decision that every driver had to make coming into today. Do you want to be fast through the corners? Do you want to be fast in the straights? What level of downforce are you picking?
Oh, I'll tell you what there, McDonald. Mark McDonald just wants a different car there at that point. That's what he wants, is that was not a good run for him. But I genuinely think you've got to pick a little bit of a balance in between the two. That's always where I like to live, in that middle ground, where you're able to generate some good speed through the corners, sacrifice a little bit on the straights, lean towards a higher downforce setup, but that's just how I feel about it.
Riding on board here, 3rd in line, Nathan Ray, I believe, getting the exit through the penultimate corner, but he had a whole head of steam there. Couldn't quite do anything with it. There was just a wall of car in front with Menino. He's got Williams in front of him, and all 3 of these guys have some lap traffic in front of them. That's an LMP2 of Jack Hedgecox, who's going to get out of the way and let them all through.
Yeah, good move there by Hedgecox, and he still remains about 5 seconds back here of the leader, Daniel Zager, so he's not really fighting for everything. Good sportsmanship to just kind of let him go.
But they're side by side, coming into the bus stop yet again. Menino and Williams, are the teammates going to resolve things before the entry? Yes, they are. Smart stuff there from the 2 teammates, probably discussing, you know, we don't want to be side by side through the bus stop here. You know what, Dave? You can go. You can take this position from me.
Yeah, exactly, and rest assured, they're probably in communication with one another to be able to let that happen here at this point. They are probably in a Discord server with one another. Oh, a problem for J.R. Williams.
Right as J.R. slotted back in line to keep himself running, he's run into trouble in the heel of the boot. Here's what happened. Another half spin, and that was big trouble for Nathan Ray. But was that the most excellent save we've ever seen? I don't think Nathan Ray hit the wall when he was coming by there.
I don't think he did either, and that was just absolutely remarkable that he was able to hold on to it. But there we've got some more problems farther back down in the field, as it looks like that's the number 21 machine.
Yeah, that was Nathan Ray getting back going again, but was he waiting for that long to get back going again? Here it is. He got the spin going, but unfortunately the momentum was a little bit too much. Ended up in the Armco, backs up all the way to the toe of the boot, and eventually gets back going again, but took him a little bit longer than he would have liked. Eric Palacio and Zach Hebert side by side into turn one. Palacio turns in, and Hebert spins, but is able to save it incredibly into turn one.
Again, another incredible save here, and Hebert, the one putting that on display. Very, very impressive stuff to be able to see that happen. That Porsche, kind of contrary to what we normally think about a Porsche, it is a relatively mild-mannered car in terms of handling, but we've got another little battle here taking place.
The battle of the Ryans, Ryan Skalny and Ryan O'Connor, they found each other for P12. Skalny in the draft. It's Porsche versus Acura. Who's going to be slipperier in a straight line? The answer is Skalny. They're side by side ahead, and they're going to be side by side between the two Ryans into the bus stop, and O'Connor is the one who wins out for now.
O'Connor's got it for now, but is that going to play itself out here for the rest of it? Let's see as they go. Oh, a little bit of LMP2 traffic they had to deal with.
Big time LMP2 traffic, a little bit of GTP traffic as well. That is going to be it's going to be even tougher to get by. The 18 on the outside of Calvin Mayant. Side by side in GTP and LMP2. How about we add another GTP into the equation? Ryan O'Connor sends it 3 wide. He's going to be later on the brakes, and he's going to be up to P11 as is a huge lockup from the 13.
Oh, huge lockup there from the 13, but they aren't going to be able to hold it together. Somehow everybody holding it in nice and clear as O'Connor still continues to hold that lead by about 0.5 of a second over Mint here, but Skalny not too far behind either.
I do have some good news for Daniel Harris fans. In the meantime, he is actually back out on track. He is many, many laps down. He had to spend 10 minutes in the pits getting repaired, but he is back. He is going to finish this race because he knows that if you're going to win a championship in the PRL, you do still have to finish races. You don't get points if you don't finish the race, and you cannot drop a week where you can drop a week where you've DNF'd, but if you've already used up your DNF, that's your drop week gone. You can't afford to have another bad week. So Harris still out there, still getting every point he can get. It's not going to be a lot of them, but he's thinking championship still.
Yeah, that's a good call there for Harris. He just certainly needs to make sure he knows to get as many points as possible. I like that heads up there from him. That is clearly a driver that is thinking full brain, full championship.
Joshua Chinsky in P10, misidentified him as the 13 a couple of moments ago. He is in fact the 18. Maybe that was a little bit of bad luck. But what could have been for Joshua Chinsky? Took the lead in that absolutely spectacular move on lap 1, and then it all went wrong through the bus stop. It was sort of karmic justice, where he won everything on the bus stop, and then he lost it all again there. He could still be in for a top 10 here, if he can hold off Nick Gowen, who is looking very fast and very aggressive to take that P10 away.
Yeah, he's looking very good here in the top 10. That's certainly something that Gowen can hang his hat on here if he's able to do it. Bad run from Chinsky, and maybe being able to get this to play here. Let's see if he can do it. That's a bad run for Chinsky there, coming up and over turn 9.
Into the penultimate corner, he's going to survive for a moment. These are the corners where you can breathe if you're the lead car in a battle, but out of the final corner, Chinsky understeers, almost gets into the wall. Gowen's got the run, Gowen's got the draft. Does he have the... No. I was going to say the stupidness to send a dive into turn 1. No, he is very smart. He lets Chinsky do a little bit of a silly lockup, and he's going to peek to the inside into the S's, and it's not a peek. It is a full-blown look and a full-blown blow-by of Joshua Chinsky, and Nick Gowen's up in the P10.
Gowen absolutely on it here to be able to do that. Chinsky's going to have a bit of a fight back there coming up in the interlude. Battle for the lead, Gowen in the front.
Another bad exit, another bad run from traffic for Pelshine. That is going to open the door for Michael Diaz within draft range within 2/10 of a second now. Coming down the back straight. I don't know if Diaz is going to be close enough into the bus stop, but he is going to be using every mile per hour in that car. He's there to the back of Pelshaw. He's not there to the inside. He's going to have to stay single file again, but if he can keep putting this pressure on, every time he gets close again to Pelshaw, he stays there for a couple of laps and falls off. He's got to make sure he stays there for the final 2 minutes of this race.
He has got to push. He has got to try so hard to keep himself up here at this point. Maybe just put pressure to the back of Pelshaw and see if he's able to get anything to play. Maybe force a mistake here out of the 919.
That was very close to the grass for Pelshaw. He is an inch of this track, but sometimes you use one too many inches, and Watkins Glen says, I don't know, I gave you a very specific track limit to use. You can't go that wide, but we'll see if that happens. Nathan Ray is coming up on these two guys. He is he's the lapped GTP Acura up ahead. Is he going to get out of the way, or is he going to potentially be a little bit of a pick to give a little bit of a draft to Pat Pelshaw? We're going to get the answer in a couple of moments, because out of the final corner, Pat Pelshaw is going to take the white flag. Can he hold off his teammate for one more lap?
Well, this is the Penske principle here at this point, Joey. This is where the gloves come off. 1 lap to go. I would say it's all down to Diaz. They've got 5 seconds. Bartley is not in the mix for this fight, and he can make this fight if he can.
I think Ray was trying to let Pelshaw by there, ended up holding him up a little bit in the exit of the S's. They're going to be 3 wide with one of the Chandlers in LMP2, but that is going to work out beautifully for Pelshaw into the bus stop. Diaz gets scuppered by Ray, loses tenths upon tenths of a second, and the lap traffic has given Pat Pelshaw a little bit of a buffer to comfortably ride for this final lap.
I think Pelshaw's got this in the bag at this point. He just needs to keep it nice and clear as he makes his way around. He has a little bit of lap traffic in front of him. That's Reagan Chandler he's got to deal with as he comes through the toe.
Comfortable lap back to Diaz. Not so comfortable with Reagan Chandler on the exit, but he's going to blow by him. He's going to get clear, and he is going to be looking at a victory. Couple more corners to go. Down the hill, extending to the grass, making sure he's still pushing at 100%, but now he can start to breathe a little bit out of the final corner of the boot, keeping all 4 wheels pointed straight into the penultimate corner. It has been one of Pat Pelshaw's finest drives ever. He's already won 2 times in prototypes. Both of those were last season, and for the first time in 2024, Pat Pelshaw wins in the GTP LMP2 series. It's a Precision Racing Esports 1-2. It's a Precision Racing Esports 1-2-3 technically, spread across 2 different squads, but Nathan Bartley comes home in P3 as well.
Bartley going to come home in P3. Ovando will cross the line in P4, but let's check back and give a little bit of love here to Daniel Zegers, who weathered the storm and looks like he is on to take victory in the LMP2 field.
Daniel Zegers out of the PRL for so many seasons, but once the prototypes came back, he said, you know what? I think I should probably sign up again. I should probably pick up one of these LMP2 cars, and I should probably fight for this championship. He has shown up last season's champion, Jack Hedgecox. It was a terrifying moment at the bus stop, and it's been easy going since then. Daniel Zegers wins in LMP2 and wins for the 3rd time in the PRL. I'm going to have to check my stat sheets, DJ, because I cannot tell you how many years it's been since Daniel Zegers won, but it is going to be a very, very happy celebration for him. Hedgecock still comes home in 2nd, and in a photo finish at the line almost, Chip Michaels comes home with 3rd, I believe his first podium in this series.
I think it is here at this point, and a great run for him and all of them. Let's see what they're able to do here at this point. Is now coming out of the final corner. Here come the drivers, and the number 18 is going to cross over the line. A great run for Chinsky, and a good recovery, it has to be said. He didn't have the best of starts here at this point, but he was able to get solid points here on the day.
I did a little bit of research, DJ. Last win for Daniel Zegers in the PRL, 2020 Season 3. That's over 3 years. I am very excited to be able to talk to him about that. But look at the Precision Racing Esports drivers. They're setting up for their photos, and a little bit of a burnout for Michael Diaz. I didn't even know you could do that in a GTP car.
Well, there is a button that you can switch off the TCS, so clearly that's what he did there at that point, but absolutely love that for him.
What a day, what a race, and what a pair of races, but prototype action finally comes to a close tonight with Pat Pelshaw winning for Precision Racing Esports Blue. Michael Diaz makes it a 1-2, and they are going to extend their team's championship lead. Nathan Bartley on the podium, excellent race for him. If qualifying went a little bit better, who knows what could have been for Bartley. Ovando ended up in 4th. Aiden Young ends up in the top 5. Dave Menino and Eric Palacio getting good points for SRT in 6th and 7th. Zach Hebert down to 8th at the end of it all. Jeff Evans, a top 10 for him yet again. And Eddie Layton, a quiet day for Hyperion Racing. He gets top 10 for his efforts too. Ryan O'Connor, Ryan Skolny, and Calvin Mayant round out the top 13 and the lead lap finishers. Nathan Ray and Adam McDonald both ran into assorted amounts of trouble. Both of them went 1 lap down. And then we start to get into some heavily damaged cars. J.R. Williams got into trouble. Daniel Harris got into some early technical trouble, I believe, but he got back out on track, and he will get points for today. William Brennan, Mark McDonald, and Gregor Georgiev all made up the used car lot. Very heavy damage for them, in addition to Kalen, Verity, Schwartz, Roy, Walsh, Holly, Dring, Borland, and Reeves, all of whom ran into assorted amounts of trouble. But in LMP2, Daniel Zeggers and Jack Hedgecock, spectacular on lap 1. Zeggers more spectacular at the end of the race, 7 seconds over the defending champion and defending winner. Chip Michaels rounds out the podium. Sorrentino and Lehman round out the top 5. And solid days all around for Carroll, Maltsev, Tabler, Wallace, and Goin to round out the top 10. Joshua Chinsky and Michael Belair were the last drivers on the lead lap. Stephen Hassett, unlucky 13th, ahead of Reagan Chandler, the lead Chandler. Nick Silver and Andrew Wood were glued together all race long, right ahead of Karsten Quint. Vardanessian and Matthew Falk were the last finishers 1 lap down. Jeremy Carter got into trouble to put him 5 laps down, as did Nathan Mon, Ryan Chandler, and John Levy. Blake Ziti and Don Hunter both ran into trouble on lap 1 with that pile-up coming into the final corner, and that was the end of the day for them before it even started. But we're about ready to get to the end of the day here. But before we can do that, we have to talk to some very happy drivers. First and foremost, Pat Pelshaw, who returns to victory lane again. You were up front basically all day today from pole, but you had your teammate Michael Diaz pretty close to you in that final stint. How much pressure was he putting on you?
Not a lot, actually. Like, we were in chat and we were talking. I think we saw just the bigger picture, and I really gotta give it to him, and just teamwork out there.
So Daniel Harris won last week, had a bad week this week. Things are looking like you're going to take over the championship lead. How comfortable are you right now, and looking forward to 7 weeks from now? Do you think this could be the season where you take that championship?
I don't know, man. It's going to be a rough season. Got a lot of guys in our team that's pretty quick. We got Daniel out there that's pretty quick. I think this car just gels really well with me, and I think I might go for the long run here and go for that championship. It really clicks with me.
Well, Pat, congrats on yet another win, number 3 in the PRL, and we'll see you next week to see if we can go for number 4.
Hell yeah, thank you.
Pat Pelshaw coming home victorious, but we've got a driver who we haven't spoken to in the PRL for over 3 years. Daniel Zeggers is back as a winner, and he gets to talk to DJ.
Daniel, congratulations, back on the top step of the podium after such a long time. How's it feel, my friend?
Man, it feels phenomenal. What a race that was. Some first lap attrition to, getting some racing in, chasing some guys down, and ultimately coming home with a victory. Man, I'm pumped. What a race.
Well, what a race indeed, and I've got to ask you, I mean, kind of a crazy melee at the beginning. What was it like to sort of calm back down and then just get yourself into a position where you were able to roll this race?
Yeah, I knew Jack had a really good run coming out of turn 1. Man, once you get to top end in these cars around down that front stretch, I don't know, you just both kind of stall out, and it's long race. I didn't know if we were going to give anything. I didn't know if he'd back out. I'd back out. We ended up going too wide. Yeah, he got loose. I managed to keep it out of the wall, managed to not get run over, and then, yeah, I was, to be honest, I was seeing red there just for a little bit. I felt like I had a really fast car. I felt like, man, I was in a good position to have a nice smooth race, and then that kind of got flipped on its head. But big shout out to Jack. I know first lap incident, but then once I calmed down, got my composure, got some pace back, he chimed on the radio, apologized and said, hey, go on by. He got sorry for getting loose. So big shout out to Jack. Really appreciate that.
Well, as we look ahead to Daytona, how do you feel that going?
No, I feel good. Obviously, I think probably everybody feels good about Daytona. I think a lot of people put a lot of time into it. probably the most anticipated track of the series. So yeah, I hope it goes well, man. I think we can carry over this momentum, and yeah, I hope to be back talking to you guys here next week.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world on that, my friend, and we do indeed hope we're talking to you next week. Daniel Zegers, your victor in the LMP2 category.
Second place in GTP was Michael Diaz. But Michael, you were putting on some big pressure on your teammate Pat Pelshaw at the end there. What more did you need to get by him, or was it just not possible?
What's up, guys? I definitely had a chance or two. I could have sent it. It was gonna be like a rough send, and there's no need to do it like that. Like so early in the champ to my team. And maybe it's like the last race and we're fighting for the championship, but this early on, there's no need. So we just brought home the 1-2.
So next week is Daytona. I'm sure you're already practicing for the 24 hours if you're going to be competing in that. How comfortable are you already in this car at Daytona, and do you think that could be the place where you get your first win of the season?
Definitely not winning in this car. The current BOP, it's looking unlikely. We're actually running the caddy for the D24. That's how bad it is.
Well, unfortunately, those 20 points for a car switch, a little bit too big of a thing to get over. But congrats on second again today, and hey, we'll see what happens next week. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. Just one race at a time. Take the bite, take the hit for Daytona, and then look forward for the rest of it. Anyways, shout out to my teammates, especially Dan Zegers and the other P2 one, and thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
Michael Diaz coming home P2 today. We've got another Precision Racing esports driver to talk to, as if we haven't talked to enough. Nathan Bartley, P3, is here with DJ.
He is indeed, Nathan. A good run for you out there. A little bit off the front pace, but I've got to imagine near the end of that race, you had 6 seconds on one side, 8 seconds on the other side. Got to kind of be a little bit of a Sunday drive for you.
Yeah, I worked hard to try and catch up to the guys in front, but didn't have it. Smooth race, though. Fun. PRL 1-2-3-4.
Yeah, I mean, good for that. How much communication were you in over the course of the rest of the team, and how much of that conversation is going back to the rest of them?
Obviously, that's all classified, so I won't get into the details.
Fair enough, my friend, fair enough. But we look ahead to Daytona. Obviously, a lot of practice going into that with what's coming up in this week, but how do you think that'll go?
We'll see how the Acura performs, but obviously the team's ready for it.
Well, fantastic, my friend. We wish you luck this weekend. We wish you luck next week, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Nathan Bartley, not the last driver we get to talk to, though. We've got one more. He's not Mr. Hedge. He's not Mr. Cox either. He's Mr. Hedgecox. Jack Hedgecox, second place today. But that was probably the most up and down day you've had in a long time.
Yeah, I would say I think I didn't lead a lap the entire race. I was stuck eternally in second. It seemed like anytime I was in third, something happened in front, but yeah, I would say it was definitely up and down, like you said. And at the end of the day, glad I still got a podium out of it.
I do have to talk to you about that insane moment on lap 1. You and Daniel Zegers side by side through the bus stop, doing a little bit of rally cross through the grass. How did you both keep that pointed straight to finish this race?
Yeah, I would say I didn't really take JR's words into consideration about going easy in the bus stop, because I sure did send it. And yeah, I caught it, thankfully, and I'm glad I didn't nail him into the corner. I definitely forced us both off, and I let him pass when he caught up to me later on in the race, because I felt that was my fault overall. But no, just glad I kept it straight.
Well, I believe you will still be in the championship lead after today, so hold on to that, and we'll see you next week, Jack.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
Jack Hedgecox, P2 in LMP2, P1 in the championship. A lot of numbers, a lot of drama, a lot of chaos today, DJ, but it's finally over, and we can finally watch this replay one more time, slow-mo sliding through the grass. I think this is the definition of everything that happened today.
Yeah, I certainly think it is. It's absolutely remarkable. A craziness at the beginning of the race, but man, they put on a good show for us.
As they always do. Look at the air. Look at the air that Daniel Zegers got. He was a solid foot above the ground there. Joshua Chinsky got his moment of glory. I'm glad he still gets to see this. Josh, when you send this race replay to people, just make sure to cut it off at lap 1. Don't let them see the rest of it. But anyway, we'll have more of GTP LMP2 racing next week, because we're going to Daytona. It's going to kick off a month of Daytona racing, whether it's the 24 hours of Daytona, whether it's the Daytona 500, we're going to be seeing a heck of a lot of the World Center of Racing, and we hope you'll join us here to kick it all off. Same time, same place next week on RaceSpotTV. But we gotta sign off here, because that is everything we can possibly talk about prototypes tonight. You've got GT3 racing coming up tomorrow on RaceSpotTV and the PRL. But until we see you then, I've been Joey Tebbin, DJ Clark's been DJ Clark, and Dustin Allis has been on production duty. Until we see you next time, so long.